Opinionated Idiot.
Hello, everybody. Happy Sunday. Welcome back to another edition of the Opinionated Idiot YouTube live show. It is Sunday, April 23rd, 2023. And welcome everybody in here to the chat. I see the chat is buzzing this evening. We have a lot to go through and an action-packed show in part 5 of our Idaho 4 looking back. And what we've been doing here, if this is your first time coming into the live show this evening, is we have gone back and looked at this case from the beginning to where we are now. And if you've missed the other 4 parts, you can go back through my playlist and check out all those other 4 parts. We will continue this theme for a couple more nights, and then we'll do a wrap-up show and then move on, I think, for a little while and give Idaho a little chance to rest unless there's new information that comes out. And I'll tell you, every day it seems like there's something new that comes out and we just can't get away from this case. But always keep in mind, we are working our way towards June 26th. That is the supposed set pre-trial date for Bryan Kohberger in the murder of these 4 victims out of Idaho. And I want to always make sure that we keep the rules here and just keep due process in place here, that Bryan Kohberger right now is only a suspect and he is the right for due process. Excuse me. And he will have his day in court. I see everybody using the new emojis. I added a few in there for you guys today. I'm going to add some more as well as the week goes on. I'm just going to think of some different ones I threw in, but I threw some quick ones in there today. And it's really nice to see that people are using the emojis. I have a lot of people in here chatting. I'm going to try to go back and do some recognition here. Who was the first one here? Who was the first one here? Who was the first one here? Moretta was here first in the chat. Heather is here as well. She says, welcome, everybody. Thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, smash that like button. It's a huge support to this amazing channel. Hope you all are enjoying tonight's live. Thank you so much. Victorine is here as well. We have Go Body says, yeah, or she says, yeah. Amber Rice is always here. She's using the new emojis. You can see those OPIs. I appreciate you using those. For some reason, when I pull them up in StreamYard, they don't show up. Dr. Bob is here as always. Says happy all Sunday. I love that cute picture of your dog. It's so cute. Let's keep going. Karen T's here. Hey, everybody. Hope your Sunday is great. Thank you so much. Let's keep moving through. Who else do we have? Stevie Irwin's back. So, all right, idiot. Let's go. Your fellow idiots are ready for some opinions. Thank you so much. Yes, that's what we do. Us idiots here, I call you all my little idiots. We give our opinions. Butterflies is here, says, hi all. This is my first time making a live, and I'm happy to be here. Well, we're happy to have you. Get to hang out with this fun chat. We have a nice, great bunch of people in this chat. Very knowledgeable, very smart. If you are not in our Discord members only chat, you are missing out. If you want to go down below, you can hit the join button. My memberships start at $1.99, and that will give you access to the Discord group. After you join a membership, if you go over to my community tab on my homepage and just kind of search through there a little bit, you'll see a members only post that has the link to our Discord group. You can connect with us and go in there. And we have some amazing conversations in there. It's spellbinding, the conversation we have with some really smart people and some really good sleuthers in there. So I really enjoy it. I like watching the chat. I like adding to the conversation, and it's just really good. You know what? I'm kind of I'm feeling generous right now. We're gonna do this. Start off the show. Let's gift a membership right now. Let's gift a membership. Why not? Right? Let's give back to the community. The community. So 1 month free is on me. 2, we'll wait for this to go through. We've got a new member. Who did I gift it to? All right. Moretta is a new member. Let's give her the tone. So you get a month free if you want to join. Group of 10. Giveaway membership. Okay, let's keep moving along. AZ is here as well. It says, hey, wait a minute. There's no birthday party for me here. Danielle is here as well. Chris Pepper is here. He says, hello, all. Hello, Chris. How are you? Let's keep moving through. See if I see any new names. Hey, look at the Opinionated Idiots here. He says, please make sure to smash that like button. It's free. And if you haven't already, go down and smash the like button. It's free. I think Mandy Joe's in the chat. I don't see her here, but I think she's here. So Mandy Joe, I might have missed you, but I will definitely see if I can find you in the chat here real quick. Let's see. Smash. There she is. She says she tapped it. She tapped the like button. Good to see you here. Sarah H is here. She says hi. Well, Sarah, welcome to the chat. We have I'm gonna mess this up. Najimak says hi all from Japan. Hey, Japan in the house. Yes. This individual was watching one of my replays this afternoon. Well, welcome to the first live. We have someone from Japan watching tonight. It's crazy. We are going global. We're global tonight, everybody. We're not just in the US. Forward Love is here. He says, back at it again with the white vans. Let's see who else we have. We have Vet Girl. She says, hi there, Brian. So glad to be here. We're so glad to have you here. Canadian Cat Lady in the house. How are you? Chrissy C is here as well. Laura's here. Oh, Laura and I, if you haven't gone back and watched, Laura and I had a great hour-long segment on our part 5 in the series. You're going to want to go back and check that out. If not, I will be releasing just the segment of Laura and I. I cut it down to about an hour. I'm going to be releasing that over this week. And what we did was we went through our Idaho timelines and compared. She's an amazing sleuther, a great researcher, and I give her a lot of kudos to coming on and helping me last night on the show. And I would love to have you back at some point, Laura. Anytime you want to come on the panel, you are welcome in my house. Just let me know, reach out to me, and we'll get you on here. Terry Dean is here as well. She's to stop to hit that like, hopefully catch you guys in an hour or so. Okay, we will be here. Jessica Cross says, first time here as well. Love your Metallica shirt. Yes, you always got to represent the best metal band in the world. Jessica, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate you. Brooke is here. Says hi, everyone. Chosen Rosen's here. Says, what up, Amber? What up, dude? I think I almost got everybody here. Oh, wait, hang on. I got Party of 5. Says, good evening, chat. Well, good evening to you. Susie's here as well. Raggedy here as well. Did I get Chrissy? Chrissy C says, first time watching live. Hello. Well, hello to you. P Fox is here. Good to see you, P Fox. Carrie H is here. I love seeing all these new names coming back or just coming in for the first time. Thank you. We will get there. We will get there. We will get there. Christine Brown is here as well. She says, as she enters the chat with her head down, hoping she didn't offend anyone last night. I don't think you offended anybody last night. I think Danielle's here. She says, that was a great show with Laura. It was a great show. Gator's here as well. And Tsunami. Official troll patrol enforcer here. I love it. I love it. Pamela Hamilton is here as well. She says, hi, all. I enjoyed your show last night. Well, hopefully you'll enjoy this show tonight, too. I think I'm all caught up with everybody in the chat. Just wanted to do some recognition. So what we're going to do tonight is continue the theme of looking back to the beginning and seeing where we're at now. I'm going to pull up a lot of videos with lawyers and experts, and I kind of timelined it all. I went back to the very beginning and we'll go right up to the present day. But first, before we go into that, I want to talk about something. The particular weapon that was supposedly used, the weapon that was supposedly used in this in these crimes. And if I can pull up my tab, I'll be really my computer is going to fail me here. Hang on one second. Oh, don't do this to me. Let's see. Where do I have to bring you? I want to do this really quick. Where is my, okay, I got it. Okay, can we see my screen? Yes, can see my screen. Let's open that up. Let's open this up. So this is a K-bar. This is a K-bar style knife. And I want to just read a little bit about it and just give you some information on it and talk a little bit about it. So a K-bar knife. The sheath is 100% leather, imported leather. Its edge and angles is 20 degrees. Overall length is 11.875 inches. It's the most famous fixed blade knife designed in the world. It's made of 1095 Crovan steel. It has a leather handle, and it's a U.S. Marine Corps fighting knife. So a little bit about a K-bar. K-bar is trademarked as K-bar. Is a contemporary popular name for the combat knife first adopted by the United States Marine Corps in November of 1942 as the 1219 C2 combat knife. Later designed for the U.S. Marine Corps Mark II combat knife or knife fighting utility, and subsequently adopted by the United States Navy as a U.S. Navy utility knife. K-bar is the name of a related knife manufacturing company, K-Bar Knives, Inc., formerly Union Cutlery Company of Orleans, New York, a subsidiary of Cutco Corporation. Although K-Bar Knives, Inc. currently makes a wide variety of knives and cutlery, it's best known for its K-Bar fighting utility knife, which is traditionally used a 7-inch 1095 carbon steel clip point blade and leather washer handle. So you're probably asking me, why are we talking about this? Well, I'll show you why. I got one. And the reason I got one is this is for demonstration purposes. I wanted to know what a K-bar knife was. And I was like, wow, when I got this. I'm going to take it out of its sheath. It's extremely sharp, and it's one hell of a weapon. And I don't want to cut myself here, so I'm going to be very careful. I'm actually kind of nervous showing this and talking about it, but that is the leather sheath that was suspected that it was left behind. And we're going to talk about the snap here and what I think how the DNA got there. Let me present the knife to you. And unfortunately, I don't have my product demonstration setting on my camera setup, so I'm not going to get too close to the camera. But this knife is big, and it's heavy as hell. It's got very good weight to it. It feels almost indestructible. And I can see how much damage this could inflict. And I can see why the Marine Corps uses this and the Navy uses this. It's very extremely sharp. The handle is has a very good grip on it, and this edge here it's almost like a hammer. I'm not really one for weapons and knives and stuff, but I wanted to know what this was, and that's why I got it. I wanted to see, because we've just seen flat dimensional pictures of this particular knife, and I wanted to get one in my hands to kind of feel, what it was. Um, so I'm going to put this down so I don't cut myself. And here is kind of that. I'm trying to get it to focus. It's not going to really focus too much, but this is that button snap that we've been hearing about, where that DNA was. And I think, a lot of these button snaps usually use a thumb to kind of open it. It's a little hard to open, probably because it's new. But I could see, getting your finger inside there, pulling this open, that's where you're probably leaving behind, your DNA in the snap. It's got that cavern in there. So as this buttons, I could see how that might hold, flakes of skin or something like that inside of it. But that is the sheath. And I'm just trying to, there, that's actually focusing pretty good there. And let me, I'm gonna pick up the knife again really quick, and I'll demonstrate that for you. It's one hell of a knife. It's very strong, and if you could pick one of these up and feel it, it does have some weight. It probably weighs maybe 2 to 3 pounds. It feels like it has a lot of strength in the hand, and I can see why this would create a lot of damage. It's not a toy. It's a dangerous weapon, and again, I just wanted to kind of see what one of these were. I know a couple of my people in my membership group. I've had some conversations with them, and they either prior military or have a couple of these. Maybe their father or their relatives were in the in the armed forces, and that's why they have one. But it's a massive knife. It's big and it's very heavy, and that fixed blade feels like it's not going to go anywhere. But I just wanted to show everybody this, and get kind of an idea, where we've just been seeing, flat photos of this, not really an actual item. And I know there's been a couple of YouTube channels that have actually done this, because some of them, the people that run their channel, they're prior military or prior Marines, and that's why they have one. So I don't know. What is everybody's thoughts? Do you feel like this is a lot bigger than you thought it was? Just by looking at photos. If you did, drop a 1 in the comment. If you didn't think it was going to, let me know. Does it appear a lot bigger than you thought it was going to be? Drop a 1 there in the comments. So I'm gonna put this away. I'm gonna cut myself. It's extremely sharp, and so anyway, I just wanted to know what a K-bar was in hand, and see, what kind of weapon this was. This If this is not all the way in, it doesn't really tend to snap very well. But that's what it looks like in its sheath again. That's a K-bar. So, all right. So let me go back and pull this up really quick. Let's see. Victorine says scary big. Yeah, I was surprised when I saw it. It came in, a box like this. I'll be honest. I ordered it from Amazon. I was surprised that you can get something like this through Amazon and so quick. It came within 24 hours. And this one is out of Orleans, New York. So it's out of, apparently back what we were saying, that the company that manufactured this made here in the USA. And it has a QR code up there on the box. It says, it looks like it has a U.S. Marines insignia up here. K-bar 1217 and U.S. Marine Corps Brown, straight knife, made in the USA, leather sheath, made in Mexico. And then you have your QR code. And I don't know if I can get that to... And that's the... So that's the box that came in. And that's K-bar. If everybody was wondering, that's what a K-bar looks like. Okay. Oh yeah. It's chilling. I mean, it kind of, when I opened it today, like I said, I thought it was going to be, something like this. I pulled it out. It was like, oh my God, this thing is huge. It is a little bit chilling to think, that's the style knife that was used. Okay, so let's move on. Let's see. Chris Pepper says my sheath was a little different too, but the blade is about the same. Christine says, good point live. Let me just see. It's scary that it's that accessible. Exactly. It's very scary. Knife choice, incel size is a matter of preference. Live Love says, how did DM miss that when she could see his face clear enough to comment on his eyebrows? Yeah, I mean, it's a sizable knife. Yes, and this is interesting too, because I'm a pretty big, broad-shouldered guy. I'm even being like super careful taking this thing in and out. I don't want to slip and cut myself. But this definitely, you need to have some strength on it. Something like this could be held in this direction with, the butt of the knife here for control. Something like that maybe. Or, when your hand is cupped here, this is going to prevent it from sliding, if you can see, if you have a, pretty firm grip on it. So, that would prevent it from sliding down the blade, where you can inflict force at this end, like a fulcrum. And if it was spun this way, like I said, it would be captured here. So, yeah, I mean, it's a hell of a knife. It's definitely a powerful weapon. And like I said, I wanted to see what a K-bar knife was in person. And I was definitely pretty amazed at the size of it. So we'll put this away. I don't want to cut myself, but we'll put that down there. All right, so we are going to move on to the show. All right, let's go into the first video here. I think this is a very good perspective here. This is a law enforcement officer that is very close to the case, very close to making some assumptions on the cases out of Krem 2 News. We'll play this here, and just going to throw my headphones on, and we can navigate through this.
What are your thoughts on the case?
I mean, first, being that I work in academics at a college, we pay attention, especially when there's violence associated with universities and colleges. It's tragic. I've got young kids in college. It always reminds me of that those are not always the safest environments. They are safe. We expect them to be safe. But at the same time, we realize that there's a world out there, and there are people sometimes that are, meaning to do harm to our children. And that's always concerning to me. I look at this situation. This is a high profile case. And I'm always looking to get that information, with a homicide or multiple homicides in this case. We expect to see, results fairly quickly. It doesn't always happen. But we expect that law enforcement, federal agencies get involved, and there are those suspects that are close to the victims, whether they're family, associates, classmates. Somebody close to the victim tends to be the most probable subject at the beginning. But we get a few days into it, and we don't see arrests, we don't see closure, we don't see people saying that we have a suspect.
Just to let you know, this video was like very close to the beginning of the case.
Or we have good ideas and the community is not at risk. We're seeing the opposite. Community needs to, take precautions. I noticed that there was a professor that came out and said he's canceling class. Grades are not as important as human life. And to me, that speaks that, nobody's in custody, and we want to.
If you're a Massachusetts homeowner that pays more than $67 a month for electricity,
make sure that these students are safe. That's, as an academic, that is one of my, that's one of my tenets, that they come first.
Ready to start
Oh
eating
my
healthier?
God. This video's
Meet
got 9
Kachava.
million commercials in it.
Kachava is
And I think, part of it, people are just having a hard time wrapping their mind around the fact that 4 people were stabbed, and this person, able to stab 4 people with 2 roommates in the house and get away and still be running free now.
Right. And again, as we look at, the possibilities, obviously we look closest to the victims, and we have 4 victims, we look closest to the victims as somebody that is the subject.
Waiting for my payout.
A few days out of this, I start to worry about those true victim crimes, the true victim homicides, whereas the victims and the suspect aren't known to each other. And this is, and I hate to use the word, but a Bundy-like situation that we, saw down in Florida many decades ago. This is, I'm not going to call it random, because if this individual is unknown to them, there may have been some planning. There may have been, other precursors to what was going into that, for him to, organize and go in and commit a crime like this. At the same time, I don't take out that there is somebody close to these people, somebody that saw them, somebody that went to school with them, somebody that associated with them in the community or at work or in some type of endeavor, and they became fixated on them. And we have to look at that. Or, as in some cases we look with school shootings, was this based on peer rejection or social rejection? Was somebody, maybe have a weapon fantasy, let me back up. Or maybe somebody has a weapon fanization, especially with a knife, because when we see mass killings, typically that's a firearm. And for somebody to use a knife is unique. I think that if this is somebody in the community that is still there, the police are probably going out and talking to people and saying, who may have felt a social or peer rejection from one or all of these individuals, who may have been talking about, morbid things or fascinated with knives, and other things that may be something that law enforcement is going to want to focus on. And when we talk about the FBI's involvement and the capacity that they have to, again, look at the psychology of the suspect and the crime scene, the victimology, these are things that they're going to be examining and following up on.
So definitely some profiling. I think we've heard that they are doing that.
And I hope they are. In a case like this, whether it's 24 hours old or it's a few days old, that is one of the resources that the FBI can bring. And it's not just the people in Idaho. You're reaching out. The one strength, many strengths that the FBI has, but one of those is they can bring very smart people, into this that aren't in Idaho, that aren't in Utah, that are literally across the country, but have specialties in these areas. They also bring, great investigative powers. They bring, the ability to look at a lot of different investigative leads, electronic, we leave a footprint everywhere we go now. There are cameras everywhere. We have satellites. We have other, tools that the FBI has to be able to track people down that may have been in that area or saying something or doing something. They bring those great resources and money sometimes, with other, means of getting, source information. And so that's going to be powerful and very helpful, hopefully, in this case.
And do you think it complicates things given the fact that, we've heard this was kind of a party house, it's on Greek Row, all of these people are in the Greek community, a lot of friends going in and out. I mean, I just imagine, trying to narrow down if you did have some DNA, that would be really challenging, I imagine.
It could. I mean, the fact that this is a college town, this is a college community, and when I say that, the neighborhood that they work, they live in, the area that it happened, people in and out, the characteristics of a college town and a college area and a college house. And that throws it in. The fact that they are in the Greek, the fraternities, sororities, people that they associate with, there's larger numbers. But we also have to remember, we've got the whole college campus. We have the town. We have the people that associate with the college students and these specific students in particular. Those are all areas that you have to run down the leads. And again, I'll go back to the Moscow Police Department is a certain size police department. They have specific capabilities. Bringing in those federal partners, bringing in the state police, you're able to run down a lot more leads than simply if you had 3 detectives trying to gather everything, because there is going to be a need to interview and contact and do research and analysis on a lot of different people, let alone when we start talking about that electronic footprint, the surveillance, the cameras, the phone pings, the cell phone towers that had people there, again, and going into other technologies that our federal partners probably have and hopefully are going to utilize in this case. And that takes resources. It takes, boots on the ground, but it also takes resources to have those expertise. When you add to that, the fact that the FBI brings, for instance, the BAU, behavioral and psychological profiling, that has to be broken down.
No more ads. I just took care of it.
Psychology has to be done on all the victims as to who they were, what was going on in their lives, who are they surrounding themselves. Then you're going to look at the crime scene. And that crime scene is probably going to have a significant amount of information for those people in the FBI that are going to look at the behavior of the suspect. What happened? What type of crimes were committed during that? Was there kidnappings or assaults, or was there a sexual assault? Was it an ambush? Was it overkill? Did it appear to be organized? Did the person bring the weapon with them? Did they take a weapon from the house? All those things are going to tell you a lot about who the who the suspect was and why those victims were chosen. And as I said, if this is a true victim crime, then I think that it becomes a little more difficult because we're not dealing with people necessarily in that community.
And by true victim, kind of remind me what you mean by true victim.
You bet. True victim crimes are those crimes where the victim and the suspect are going to have no connection. These are, when we think about a Ted Bundy, when we think about, a serial killer like Israel Keys, these are, the victims are chosen, the crimes are well planned, they're organized, but there's a purpose to that. And I think what's interesting is if this person is outside their group, family, friends, associates, Greek community, college community, the actual community in Moscow, Idaho, that has a connection to the family or the college. If they're outside that, it again becomes a little more difficult to identify that individual. If they are within that group, we're going to be able to focus, and we're probably at some point going to contact them and interview them and talk to them about, if they have any information.
And that's the first breath that guy took.
Answer, but I mean, do you think they know who this person is at this point, and they're just not saying?
You could be working with someone outside your company
premium.
and wait for back and forth email or a call to be received.
Like,
You know,
do I have
and
to
here's the thing,
activate it?
in that profiling, we look at what, what are potential, you get some great subject matter experts in there, people that can look at crime scenes and victimology. And although it may not be perfectly scientific, you have some really
Get
experienced
started. Oh,
investigators
maybe I
with some
didn't
good backgrounds, that can
manage.
look at this and say, what does this appear to be based on what we have? Is it revenge? Is it power? Is it anger? Is it meant to terrorize them? Was there a financial advantage to them? Was it, robbery or burglary?
Sorry, I just signed up for YouTube Premium, and oh, I think you have to log back out and go back in. I'll do it after this video. I don't want to kill the momentum of the video.
And they can look at a lot of those and maybe
If not,
then
next stream it
push
will be there.
themselves
You'll
out
have to sign in again.
who maybe.
So I have to log out of my YouTube name and then sign back in? Is that what you're saying? I'll just do it later. Yeah, I totally just signed up for it. So I don't want to screw up the
Now,
stream.
I'll say
It'll take
this,
too long.
one of the things that
we'll have it there next time.
with my experience in being involved with
Just
FBI,
chat
some
me
of their
in-
investigations,
Chat to me
one
in
of the best things
the
that they do is keep a
Discord
good
about
secret.
it.
And I think that as I work, in different things now as a private investigator, both on both sides, that is an important trait. I have to tell you that when I worked in investigations, we had what we call rule number one. Rule number one is don't say anything.
I'm wearing one right now.
Because that information needs to be kept close. We can't get the media or family sometimes even knowing that information because, again, it can tip people off. And sometimes minutes are important. It can redirect people's behavior and get them more prepared when we come knocking on their door or surveillance or, wiretaps and things that we may be doing. And so I don't think it's unusual for the police to absolutely, and the FBI, not to say anything. This could be a good sign, meaning that they got a pretty good idea who this is, and they are working hard to identify them, to get the evidence, to move to the next point. At the same time, again, if we look at this as maybe a true victim or somebody that's outside that social circle of theirs, we may not know who they are right now. And that, to me, from the possibility that we don't know who they are. We don't have any information. This is not, and I'll get, with the FBI tracking, is this something that's happened somewhere else in the country in the last few days or weeks or months? Is this, method that they used, or is the MO in this case similar to one other one, or multiples? It may be. And then we have to worry about serial killers or spree killers. But, again, I as what they've put out right now, I think there's going to be somebody closer in the community. I think it's going to be somebody that may not necessarily be close to them, but close enough in that circle that they're going to be able to identify and then move forward with hopefully putting together a good case so that they can make an arrest and then move on to prosecute and get justice for these kids.
Yeah, and they have called it. They repeatedly have called it a targeted attack.
Right.
Sorry, I'm watching courtroom video of Kohberger behind the scenes to see if he signs anything or leads with his right or left hand. So I'm just trying to figure that out.
So what does that tell you? That like you said, it's someone within their.
The best way to burn fat and get in shape. It's not keto, paleo, fasting, or vegan, and it's not super.
It's probably somebody that is going to be in that circle. Doesn't mean that they're right up against them. We when we look at homicide cases, violent crime cases, a lot of time, we have to go one step away. A spouse, a family member, then we move a little bit further away. Associates and friends, neighbors, coworkers, classmates. Then we move a little bit, further away. Ex-boyfriends, girlfriends, ex-spouses, people that we dated. And again, when they say, when they make a statement like that, then you look at what is the motive? Is it revenge? Is it, peer rejection, social rejection, and especially within maybe those Greek communities where people are either in or they're out. And that, especially at a college age, that can maybe, put out maybe an anger that goes, and then, maybe a terror response, meaning that, I want to terrorize somebody. I want them to make them pay. And so I think those are, when we look at the revenge, the power, the anger, or, maybe causing terror, those may be some of the motivations to somebody closer than a random true victim crime. meaning that the individual is passing through, or the individual may be from the area, but not connected to the victims. Those are good possibilities at that point, especially if that is what we're hearing from law enforcement at this time.
And again, what does it tell you, given the fact that this person used a knife?
That, it's interesting because when we have multiple killers or mass killings, we have, we've had, school shootings or school deaths where we have a school.
It's a good point right here.
Place or workplace, but higher probabilities it's going to be a gun. The fact that it's a knife may tell us, that this is more personal. It may mean that the individual, could be as simple as the individual doesn't have the capacity to possess a gun. They're restricted. They don't have the ability to get a gun. They can't afford to buy a gun. It may have been, again, if we're looking at maybe a revenge type of thing, it may have been something that was meant to be scary, and it cascaded. And that was the only weapon that they had on them. When we see brute force and knives, sometimes those are disorganized in the sense that the individual uses that knife or a blunt force that they find at the scene, at that time. Opportunistic, meaning that I'm coming in the house to burglarize it or commit a theft, and I get caught, and my only weapon at that time is a knife. But I do say there's a violence and a terror when a knife is used.
I don't know who Daniel is.
Especially with the fact that 4 people were killed, not 1.
Who's Daniel?
Do you think this suspect should be scared?
I think you got the wrong show, dude.
It depends. And I always say that, with some, if this is somebody that has done this before, they're organized, they are in that group of what we would consider a serial killer. I think the fact that they haven't been discovered is part of what I think empowers them. And it is concerning to us. So if that's the category of person, they're probably less, because of their confidence, their antisocial behavior.
So let me pause this really quick. Daniel says, how terrifying that BK allegedly said, "I'm here to help you." In my opinion, it made it worse for Xana. So I don't think BK said that. If you go back and look at our stream from last night, Laura and I were having conversation. I think what happened was when suspect came down the stairs, I think they were intending to leave after the murders on the top floor. Makes it to the second floor, was getting ready to leave. When they were getting ready to leave through that kitchen slider, I think they heard something or encountered Ethan in the hallway. The suspect either goes to the room or encounters Ethan in the hallway. When he encounters Ethan, there's a battle, a fight. The knife comes out, goes right towards Ethan. Ethan takes some wounds, stumbles back into the bedroom. And I think "Hey, I'm here to help you" is to de-escalate the situation. And we talked about that last night. Hey, I'm here to help you. I'm here to help you. Or it was the suspect saying, "I'm here to kill you." And it was mistaken as, "I'm here to help you." You can go back and watch last night's stream if you missed it. Laura and I had a great segment on there for about an hour. And kind of, we go through that. It's kind of my theory.
Some of the traits that go along with people that are involved in those kind of crimes.
And I think that the hearing, "There's somebody here," I think when suspect entered the room, I think that Maddie was probably closest to the door in the bed. She probably took the first hits. That woke up Kaylee. Kaylee started taking hits. And I think that's her screaming out, "There's someone here," to alert the roommates in the house. That's when DM comes out and looks and doesn't see anything. And I think the house was very quiet that night. I don't think there was anybody in the house except for those roommates. That's what makes me believe, if that is Kaylee yelling out, "Hey, there's someone here," that's to alert the house. someone here, and then unfortunately was mortally wounded and couldn't do anything.
I don't think that they're too worried. I mean, when we look at, you know, successful serial killers that avoid law enforcement for a period of time, that's one of the things that they really, you know, kind of, that's a trait that they set themselves up so there's a low probability that they're going to be discovered right away. You know, but eventually good police work, the you know, citizens involved in making comments about what's going on, and a little bit of luck. I always think, you know, you can only be so good, and luck always runs out. And that's what we sometimes hang our hat in law enforcement is success with. If this is somebody in the community, this is somebody connected a little closer to the social, they should be worried. The truth is that if that is the person, they should be.
Danielle, if you missed last night's show, go back probably about a 30-minute in. It's part 4. You can go back. Part 4 and just go in about 30 minutes. That's when Laura came on and we had a great segment for about an hour on that show. I'm actually going to be re-releasing just that segment this week, so look out for it if you can't make it back and watch that stream.
Greatly worried, because
it's very interesting.
Again, I go back to,
we had a great
we
conversation.
Leave a footprint. Everything that we do, things are different than 30 years ago when I started in law enforcement. I mean, there is the technology out there, the ability that law enforcement, especially at the federal level, the ability that we can leverage and exploit things within technology makes it very, very powerful. License plate readers, video cameras, surveillance cameras, just about everywhere we go. People are out and about on social media. They're taking pictures, they're taking videos, and they don't always realize that picture has somebody in the background or has a timestamp or a place. You know, the fact that wherever we go with our phones, we're leaving a physical, you know, footprint. You know, I think an Idaho case that is a good example is, it takes some time, but you know, with the Daybell case over in eastern Idaho, you know, the FBI sat down and they were able to put together, you know, literally second by second cell phone locations of where people.
I want everybody to keep that in the back of their mind too. And when we talk about this, that, you know, everybody just sticks to that PCA and they think that that's just the amount of evidence that's in this case. And I always talk about it. I'm not going to go into all the evidence, but I think cell phone data is going to be very critical in this case as well too. And this gentleman's making a very, very good point of how close and how intricate you can locate now with cell phone data. We saw that in the Murdoch case, and I know I talk about this a lot, but it's a big point in this case as well.
We're on a specific,
because this may prove that Bryan Kohberger is the person, or it may exonerate him. We don't know yet, and we don't have privilege to all that information, but we're going to hear soon. In about 2 months, we're going to start hearing all of that information.
In time. You know, we have to remember that we have satellites, a lot of satellites, private and public satellites that are flying over, taking pictures all the time. And those pictures can be used as a resource for law enforcement to track people down and see who was in the area and, you know, who was moving and how things changed. All those resources are there. And so when I say this is a local person, you know, these are things that are going to be looked at. The fact that it's a knife, I think, is also important. If that person is local, you know, the question that I would be asking, you know, significantly in the college community and the community around there, anybody fixated with knives, anybody fixated, you know, with the knife that they've mentioned that they're looking for is a military, you know, style knife. So who's got a fascination with the military, especially somebody that's not in the military, failed military, maybe tried to get in, but for various reasons couldn't. But
interesting how BK was, you know, that kind of that military style. I wanted to be law enforcement so bad. It's just very interesting, you know, all those kind of litigating factors that are just adding up.
They still may be fascinated with the, you know, with that weapon, because that's a unique weapon that people, you know, may use. Idaho's a hunting state, and so, you know, knives are not uncommon with regards to, you know, the recreating and that. But that knife, I think, is unique. If that is in fact the style of knife, I think it's a unique knife. And it tells us maybe a little bit about who that person is that has it.
Sure. Let me just address this really quick. Sleuthy says, "Hey y'all, Bryan, where can I send you an article that fits in with this? I found super interested. Sure, Sleuthy. I'm gonna drop my email. It is a great interview. I truly believe it too. Sleuth, you can send it there. Listen, if you ever want to come on, Sleuthy, you're welcome to come on. Hit me up via email, and we can set something up. I follow a lot of your stuff on Twitter. I've tweeted at you a few times, and maybe you can set me straight. You can come on and set me straight. But yeah, if you want to ever come on, you're invited. Come on the panel for a little while. We'll do a little live, and I'd love to hear your perspective. I'd love to hear your perspective on this, and I give you the platform to kind of maybe educate me a little bit, or educate the viewers that come in on the channel, and maybe we can bring some different perspectives to it. So let's see, do you care if I send it on Twitter? No, you do great. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, because you are very highly respected in this community. I have to say that. And I love watching your work. We get a lot of ideas, of course, from your tweets, and we kind of mull it over in my Discord, and we talk about it. And when I find something of yours, I'm very good at recognizing you. So I just want to make sure that you know that. And I appreciate that you take the time and come in and chat every once in a while. Sure, you can send it on Twitter. I'm not on Twitter a lot. I'm old. I'm getting a little bit better at it and getting used to it. So yeah, cool. That would be cool. Definitely reach out to me. We'll do something live. I'll have you over, and I'd love to hear your perspective, because I've only caught a few of your interviews, but I'd love to give you kind of the platform and let you open up and just say, hey, this is how I see it. So I'd love to interview you. Let's do that. No, my lips aren't getting brown. I mean, this is someone that's a very respected person in the community. It's someone that I would love to get a platform for. It would be fun for my channel. And, I think she adds a lot of value to the community in this case. So I call it like I see it. But yeah, send that over, and I'll take a look at it. And of course, reach out to me. We can set something up. All right, we'll keep playing through this.
Kind of touched on this earlier, but just kind of explain to people, what are detectives, investigators, what are they doing right now?
I think that hopefully the victimology of all four people was a real highlight at the beginning. The fact that they've got multiple resources, state police, FBI, we can do multiple things at one time. We're running down the victimology. We are doing analysis of the crime scene. That crime scene is telling us a lot about what happened. What was the sequence of what happened? What type of other activities occurred before or after? Were the bodies staged after they were killed? Were the bodies, in any way, manipulated? Was there assaults on the bodies? What happened? The defensive wounds. What were people aware of what was going on? Were they trying to defend themselves? Was there a fight? The thing about knives is, with a lot of knife wounds, once you stab, unfortunately, liquid starts to get on the knives, and as people stab, it's not uncommon for the knife literally to slip and cut the suspect's hand. And so if that...
Yeah, that'd be interesting too. I think this is a really great interview. If anybody hasn't seen this, I think it adds a lot of value. And again, this was an interview that was at the very, very beginning. Like I said, we've been going through the timeline.
Happened, we're going to have, blood and DNA mixed in.
Yeah,
so,
I'll drop the...
it's going to be very important as they analyze the blood.
I'm going to drop the link in the chat if anybody wants to go back to this and review it. Please do. So that link is there. Like I said, it was off Creme 2. He doesn't give his name. I think he might at the very, very beginning. But this was on November 18th, 2022. So this was a very fresh interview, just days after, the fateful day at King Road. So,
is there a mixture of not the victims?
Looks like his name is Chris B. I know that he's
was there blood? Did we find droplets?
I think he said he was a professor at one of the local colleges, and he was a retired, I think, law enforcement. So,
as the person left the house and outside, those are going to be critical because they're going to tell us, what happened. I think, the question of the detectives and the FBI is going to say, was this an organized crime scene or was it disorganized? Was this planned, unplanned, or was it a mix? Were there things that are actually, within the traits of what happened, are there mixed? And then, really trying to focus on, What was the motive? Was there overkill in how many, stab wounds these people, made? Was there stab wounds specifically to the chest, the neck, and the head, which would tell us about maybe some anger, some rage that the subject had at those people, or at somebody else that may have been, that they may have been targeting. Sex assault, unfortunately, is, one of those determining factors as to, was there any, type of assault beforehand? And if there was,
they did rule out sexual assault. That they said that they didn't find any evidence of that. So,
you ever have that moment in the mirror where you're staring back at yourself and you start wondering?
That's good. And so again, because with sex assault homicides, there's a lot of literature out there, but again, what I teach and what kind of foundation, what I have is there's 4 types of suspects there. And so when you have a sex assault homicide, you're going to focus on 4 types of suspects and who fits into those categories and those traits and those personalities. The fact that there's not, again, goes back to what is the motivation? Revenge, social rejection, anger, power, money, financial, profit, and like I said, human behavior. And that's the FBI with the behavioral analysis. The FBI is looking at this from what are common human behaviors that these suspects have. It's not always perfect, but we are able to take human behavior, and in a lot of cases, those things replicate themselves in these crimes. And we're able to find, and that's again where we're finding some of those personalities. It's not scientifically perfect. There are, high probabilities, low probabilities, medium probabilities that we may have. And we sometimes know that even though we think it's this person, when we actually retrospectively go back, we were off and wrong. And I think the FBI has done a good job from when my dad was in there in the 80s doing this till now, is that
Yeah, I know
they go
Tsunami
back
was
and they see what did
speaking
they
very
miss.
highly of that.
And they learn from that. And there's great lessons learned. And I think in this case, the nice thing is that we have a lot of experience.
Okay, so let's just stop this show for a second. Okay, I'm going to address the chat, and I think this is going to be the only time that I address this. Okay. I think there needs to be some, I don't want to say like ego checking, but y'all need to calm down. Let's take a moment here. Okay. Let's just take a moment and pause. First of all, and I'm not trying to be a dick. This is my platform. Okay. We all come in here to have fun. I want to keep this clean fun. We have a great community that is building here. And I don't want people coming at each other in the chat. This is not what this is going to be about. If you're going to be like that, I'm going to bounce you out and you will never come back. Okay? We can all work together in this community. That's what I said weeks ago when I started going on other channels and having other people on this platform. I want to work with people and build this community, because all of us working together is better than all of us working against each other. And if you're going to come in the chat and start shit and be a troll, I'll bounce you out and you'll never come back. Okay? We're adults. Seriously? Everybody's going to act like a bunch of children in the chat? So let's take pause and stop. The real reason we're here is for those 4 victims. The real reason we're here is to find out what happened. The real reasons we're here is to find out if Bryan Kohberger, the alleged suspect in this case, is guilty or innocent. To bring justice to those families, to bring justice back to that community, to give peace so these people can sleep at night. These families that stay up at night and cry that their daughter, their son is dead. So let's all stop with this nonsense. There's people in here acting like children right now, and we're not going to do that here. And I said that from day one. This is an adult platform. If you want to be a child, go somewhere else. Go on the streams that people act like children on. I know who they are. I'm not a clout chaser. I don't do this for clout. I don't have to do this. I do this because I care. I do this to bring awareness to this case and to this community. And if I can help get some information out there, maybe someone that's close to these victims sees something. Maybe a law enforcement officer that's watching this sees something or hears something that they can bring to this case. So let's stop and pause. Let's take like 20 seconds and pause. And take a deep breath. And let's stop acting like children. And then I'll continue with the show. And if you don't like it, go. It's fine. People will come and go in this platform. But I'm going to stick up for the people that want to be productive in this chat. And the people that don't want to be productive, go. It's that simple. We're adults. We're all like, I know the average age of everybody in here. I have the statistics. Everybody in here is like almost 40 years old. Stop. Stop being catty. Stop being stupid. Let's continue with the show. Ay, caramba. I feel like I'm in a sandbox and people are arguing over who gets to play with the lightsaber. It's ridiculous.
Probably with the FBI and the
We're not going to have that here on the Opinionated Idiot YouTube show. I'll shut down the live shows and just upload videos.
Who did this?
And what does it tell you that, you know, there's been crime tape at this house
Holy
since Sunday
schmolies.
and they're still there processing this scene?
Yeah, I teach investigations, and this is one of those things that, when I work on the defense side of things as a defense investigator, you get a first time.
Thank you for bringing some comedy.
And I teach that in my investigations class. You only get a first time first. If you walk away from that scene and think, oh my goodness, we got to go back, there's a possibility that somebody's altered it, tainted it, removed something. Don't give up the scene until you have to. That's, one of the things that I sometimes see, and this is a big case, and I don't think they would do it, but in other cases, law enforcement gives up the possibility of gaining more evidence, or just kind of engages in a mediocre investigation and leaves things, and then maybe comes back later. And throughout my career, I saw that happen where we release a scene, and a few hours later somebody's calling us and saying, hey, I found something. That is not good for your investigation. And so the fact is, hold that scene as long as you need it. It could be a day, it could be 5 days, it could be 2 weeks. Hold it, because as we look, we may not have got it on the first look, but we still own that scene. It's not tainted, and we can go back in there and collect that evidence as if it's the first time. First time first.
What a great interview. I'm going to drop that link in the chat. If anybody wants to check that out, please do go over and check that out. But after this stream, of course, and we have a new member, we're going to recognize the member, Missy the RN. Thank you so much for your membership. We're going to do this as well. We pay the tones for the new members.
Bing, bing, bong, bong, bing, bing, bing.
And always make sure to smash the like button.
Smash.
All right. Christine Brown is gifted a membership. We'll play the tones for that as well. Let's see. Christine Brown is gifted a membership. Who is the new? Mr. Else is the new member. Let's play the tones. All right. I will explain it now really quick now that I've calmed down. Listen, Sleuthy's in the chat, okay? I appreciate her coming over and checking out the live stream. I've never had a conversation with her. She adds a lot of tremendous value to this case. If I can have her on the platform and explain her side of the story, I would love to have her here. There's nothing wrong with asking a guest or an expert or someone that's really good at sleuthing to come on your panel and give their opinion. That's not brown nosing. That's asking a guest. It's just like when I reached out to Drunk Turkey. Hey, you have a phenomenal thing that's going on. I love your point of view. Would you like to come over and hang out with me? And he did the same thing with me. Return the favor. Come over on my panel. We had Publicly Buzzed. We did that 3-way show with them. So it's not brown nosing. This is asking someone to come on your panel and hang out and understand their perspective of where they're coming from. So again, I'm over it. I'm done. We're going to continue with the show. If you don't like what I said, you can unsubscribe and go. I don't know. It's pretty simple. So let's stop being children. Let's move on with the show. Holy schmolies. All right. So we have now when the, and I hope I don't get bagged for this one, NBC News might get me for this. We had Bill Thompson come on really close to the case as well. We'll play this, and this is one of the first interviews when he first spoke out. So let's play this.
Mr. Thompson, good morning to you.
Good morning.
Police there have called this a targeted, isolated attack. Are investigators looking for a particular suspect or suspects this morning?
At this point, the investigators are looking at all possibilities. They don't have a specific suspect. They're continuing to work on that.
Do you believe that whomever did this is still at large?
Yes, we have no one in custody, and the police have been unable to identify who's responsible for these homicides.
Is it possible there's more than one suspect?
It certainly is possible. That's the purpose of the investigation. That's why we're really hoping for any information from the public that can help the investigators recreate everyone's activities Saturday night and early Sunday morning, and hopefully give them the leads, the information to identify who did this.
There's so many things about this case that are so hard to put together. Veteran police officers who arrived at the scene said it was one of the most horrific and gruesome scenes that they had ever seen. Yet somehow there were two roommates who were in the house who apparently didn't hear anything. What are the red flags you have there, and are those roommates considered persons of interest?
Well, anybody who might have knowledge is considered persons of interest at this point. As far as suspects, I don't believe so. The investigators continue to work hard trying to interview everyone who might have any information and hopefully figure out and identify what occurred and why and who's responsible.
As we understand the timeline, and we recognize that this is an investigation very much ongoing, the four came home early in the morning, Sunday morning, let's say 1:45, 2 o'clock in the morning, something like that. The 911 call didn't come until midday the next day. Does that raise any red flags for you? How do you explain that?
I think the investigators are trying to ascertain why there was a delay and what actually occurred, what was heard. That's a question that's still out there. And I know they're working on that. We're trying to assist them as much as possible with obtaining search warrants for data and cell records and social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially.
Social media and anything that might help.
Do you know who called 911? Can you
hang on one second? Let me just acknowledge this. C. Vanderhoof says, thanks for doing the recap, Bryan. It's been great. Yes, I think it's always good to go back and look back, like I always said, because it refreshes our brains, it refreshes the case, and we hear and see things that we might have passed on, or we see or hear things that are new. So let's give you the tone.
I got you, homie.
Thank you so much for the $2 super chats. The super chats.
you reveal who reported this?
I can't reveal who made the 911 call. The police do know who made the 911 call, though.
Obviously, we don't know anything about motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. He, to my knowledge, there is nothing to.
I think he was a little upset about that. Let's go back about what the mayor
about
said.
Motive, but the mayor did initially refer to this crime as a crime of passion. Why did he say that?
I can't speak for Mayor Betke. He, to my knowledge, there is nothing to indicate that this has been determined to be a crime of passion. We know it's just a horrible crime, and 4 young lives have been lost.
And finally, initially, investigators and the police had said the community has nothing to worry about. Now they've sort of said, well, of course we should be vigilant because there is a suspect or suspects still at large. What is your message to that community this morning?
Well, I think the fact of the matter is that whoever is responsible for these murders is still at large. The investigators do not know who that person is. From what they've told my office,
I think he's telling the truth at that point, that they really didn't know.
they believe that this was what they call a targeted attack and not just a random act of violence. And I think they tried to communicate that, but obviously that communication didn't work very well. It's unfortunate for any confusion in the community. People just need to be vigilant and help us however they can. We hope that we can identify who's responsible and get them off the streets as soon as we can.
We're sure your officers and prosecutors are working hard there. Thank you so much, Latah County Prosecuting Attorney Bill Thompson. Thank you for your time this morning, sir.
God, he does look like Santa Claus, huh? It's almost like a perfect split image of Santa Claus. All right, let's keep playing along here. We have... Let's bring this one up here. Another perspective from an attorney on Fox News. What are they saying about the case?
In this case, there's also one other piece of information.
November 17, 2022.
Which says back in September, campus security sent out what is known as a vandal alert to staff and students with the subject line "threat with knife," notifying the community of the alarming incident. The Moscow Police Department received a report that a group of students was walking and were threatened by, quote, a person with a knife. May be relevant, may not be relevant. Your take on where this case stands right now, Mark?
Well, what jumps out at me is that when they come out and they say that it was an isolated, targeted attack, either this is one of those scenarios where they're trying to make everybody calm down. They don't really know that for sure, but they want to stop the mass exodus of students and the fear that's permeating that campus. Or what I really suspect is they're going to announce very soon some real-time extreme evidence to show why they believe that this was isolated and that nobody has to worry about any further attacks.
You know, I mean, it seems that they know something about this that they're not sharing yet. And it's good news that there's going to be a news conference. We obviously want their investigation to be protected, and to the extent that it needs to be. I spoke with the mayor of the town yesterday. Here's what he said.
They know something from the crime scene and the nature of the crime that they have not shared with the rest of us. And that is because they're wishing to protect the integrity of the investigation, eventual prosecution, and also to prevent the perpetrator from understanding the direction and progress in the investigation as well.
You know, it's a strange and absolutely horrible crime. I can't imagine what the families of these kids are going through right now, Mark. But, you know, what's your best assessment of the type of what you think played out here, whether it was one of them, you know, a murder-suicide perhaps, or whether it was somebody from the outside?
Martha, I know that we want to speculate, but I'm not going to do it. In fact, I'm going to ask that people respect what the family is going through. Imagine it's one of your loved ones. It's one of your children at school. What they're having to hear from people suggesting maybe erroneously that it had something to do with drugs or some type of nefarious conduct. I encourage people not to speculate. And also, I applaud the mayor for putting that statement out to perhaps help people understand that you got to wait and don't expect the police to tell you everything. They've got to hold things close to their vest, because if they reveal it to us, they are compromising their investigation.
Mark, thank you. Hopefully we'll get more information in a couple of hours from this news conference, and hopefully they have figured out who did this.
Hey, oh yeah, they hadn't even come out and given the first news conference yet. So that interview was actually pre first Moscow news conference. Okay, let's keep playing along here. We'll just kind of rapid fire through these. This one here. Nope, that's the wrong one. Let's see. Let's go back to, oh shit, I just closed one by accident. Damn it. Okay, that's okay. We'll just pull this one up with Okay, let's keep playing.
Since November. Bryan Kohberger will appear in court again tomorrow. Meanwhile, a lawyer for the victim.
So at this point, Kohberger had been caught.
Family of one of the victims.
Obviously.
Magazine that none
Oh,
of
look
them
at, I think I took
knew
care
the
of the
suspect
ads.
or had any idea that they were in danger. Harry Tuckman joins us now live from Moscow, Idaho with more. So what happens tomorrow?
Anderson, the accused murderer, will have his second appearance in court in this courthouse here in Moscow, Idaho. Exactly a week ago, he had his initial appearance in court. When he came into the courtroom, when he sat down, he showed no emotion at all. He smiled a little bit to his public defender. We'll see what happens during this second appearance. During this appearance, it's expected there will be scheduling discussions about future pretrial hearings. Now, last week, during the initial appearance hearing on the same day, the police affidavit was released. We were awaiting that because it contains reasons they arrested this man, including...
Yeah, let me get through this video. Gina Marie, let me get through this video and I will pull up what Sleuthy sent to me and she can commentate in the chat. I'll just read through the article.
Police believe they found his DNA on a knife sheath that was found on the bed of one of the victims. In addition, police say that one of the housemates who survived heard crying, stepped outside her room, saw a man in black clothes, a mask, and bushy eyebrows. They say her description helped lead to more evidence against him. And finally, police say that his cell phone signal was detected on at least 12 instances over the 5 months prior to the murders right near the house. And also it was detected about 5 hours after the murders, after the sun came up. This is a death penalty state. Anderson, prosecutors will have to decide if they will seek it.
As we mentioned, the first day of the spring semester was today for most students there. Have you talked to any students about how it feels to be back on campus?
Yeah, I went out on campus today and talked to some of the students. Everyone I talked to who came back to start class today is very grateful that a suspect was caught. You know, this is a very safe city, Moscow, Idaho, and the campus is very safe. And what happened over the past several weeks and the end of the fall break is a lot of people were walking in pairs, walking with buddies, or walking in groups. And many of the people I talked today say they will continue to do that, even though a suspect has been caught.
Gary Tuckman, appreciate you being there. Thank you. For more on what to expect tomorrow when the suspect appears in court, we're joined by criminal defense attorney Mark O'Mara. So you heard Gary's report. What are you anticipating is going to happen in the hearing?
Well, tomorrow is not going to be as significant as the one a week from now. Tomorrow is sort of a status conference. The judge will let them know what's coming up next. The most significant hearing, Anderson, is going to be within about a week, because 14 days from last week, they have what's called a preliminary conference. And that's where the state presents even more evidence to try and show up that they have affirmative probable cause to keep him. And then at that point, trial dates will start getting set. So tomorrow, as was said by the reporter, some scheduling, keeping things on track. There always has to be a next court date, but I think the most significant ones are coming up in the next couple of weeks.
And before the release of the probable cause affidavit, the suspect's attorney in Pennsylvania said that the suspect believes he'll be exonerated. Now, investigators seem to have what would appear to be strong evidence against him, especially with the DNA found on the knife sheath. What are the chances you think this would go to trial as opposed to a plea deal?
Well, you know, so hard to say. In many of these cases, like the ones that we see with this type of horrific events, what happened with the death of 4 young college students, you know, what is he going to get offered that he would accept? If it's his hubris that he thinks he's going to be exonerated, that he may very well want his day in court. Even if he just has this belief, sort of like Ted Bundy years and years ago, he liked the idea of the spotlight. So it's really hard to say, but I will tell you, with the enormity of evidence, even in just the 20 pages that we have and the tens of thousands that are coming, it is going to be hard pressed for any, even a very good defense team, to be able to convince reasonable doubt exists in this case. And again, may turn into something of trying to minimize the damage to him.
And in the court documents that were released last week, I mean, there were a number of details, but there's a lot more that police probably have already, or that law enforcement already has, that they don't need to put into those court documents.
Well, absolutely. They're going to keep, they had to put a card or two on the table. They had to put enough on the table to make sure that this judge kept him in under no bond. And in the next hearing, the probable cause hearing, they're going to throw another card or two. But don't forget, they have a lot of work to do. They want to make sure that all of their T's are crossed and their I's are dotted. They don't want to give the defense any more than they have to, unless and until they have to. And Idaho has discovery requirements, so we'll have that. But no. I think they're going to play their cards close to the chest for a while to make sure that everything that they've said, the forensic and whatnot, is very well founded.
We learned last week that there, according to law enforcement, there is a witness. There were a roommate who actually saw the killer leaving the room. We don't know much more about them. We only, obviously, not their identity. They're just the initials in the court documents. But we haven't heard from that person. Is that something that would come out in court documents prior to a trial?
Oh, absolutely, prior to a trial. We may hear more about that next week, and certainly it's going to come out in discovery, because there's so many unanswered questions with that witness. Why she waited 8 hours? It could be something as simple as, college kids. They were drinking or intoxicated or whatever else, didn't want the cops in the house. There's something more about that, not nefarious, not some conspiracy, but some reason why she waited 8 hours to do anything. Even with just the idea that some stranger is in her house, you would think something more would have been done than nothing. But again, I think we'll find out with the thousands of pages that are coming.
As we mentioned tonight, the parents of one of the victims has said that the alleged assailant didn't know any of the victims. I'm not sure how they would have that knowledge, but you've seen a lot in your career. Would that surprise you?
It would surprise me for a number of reasons. One, the stalking, that he was looking at the house or around the house or pinging his cell phone around the house for weeks prior. There's something there. And plus, even the type of murder, if you really just try to analyze it, using a knife is a very personal way to kill somebody. It's very violent. So you have to wonder, was he infatuated? Was he getting back at being rejected? There's probably something in that background of him and the interaction with at least one of the people, if not more, at that household that caused this type of violent reaction by him. It is more than just
I want to go back here for a second. Hang on.
On the house or pinging his cell phone around the house for weeks prior. There's something there. And plus,
Let's go.
Surprised me.
Hang on. I'm going to go back here. This is interesting.
Something more would have been done than nothing. But again, I think we'll find out with the thousands of pages that are coming.
As we mentioned tonight, the parents of one of the victims has said that the alleged assailant didn't know any of the victims. I'm not sure how they would have that knowledge, but you've seen a lot in your career. Would that surprise you?
It would surprise me for a number of reasons. One, the stalking, that he was looking at the house or around the house or pinging his cell phone around the house for weeks prior. There's something there. And plus, even the type of murder, if you really just try to analyze it, using a knife is a very personal way to kill somebody. It's very violent. So you have to wonder, was he infatuated? Was he getting back at being rejected? There's probably something in that background of him and the interaction with at least one of the people, if not more, at that household that caused this type of violent reaction by him. It is more than just, he picked the house by coincidence. That is not what happened here.
All right. We'll keep playing on. Let me just rewind this one here. Oh, we got a Cuomo video. All right, let me pull up the article that Sleuthie sent over to me. Hang on one second. So this one is from the Idaho Statesman. It was on April 23rd, 2023. Let me just make sure you guys can see my screen. Okay, all right, perfect. Let me minimize myself. Maybe this might be a little better. Yeah, it's a little better. So thanks for the article. I'm going to read through it here. If you're still in the chat, I appreciate it. Okay, so it says, Idaho Statement, what do cell phone records say about Bryan Kohberger's location? Experts explain. Idaho authorities have alleged that Bryan Kohberger's cell phone records show that he was in Moscow area less than an hour after 4 university students were stabbed to death in an off-campus house. And then he visited the coverage area of the home 12 times before the homicides. But telecommunications expert and former electrical engineer Ben Levitin, who was analyzing cell phone data for the well-known Aiden Saeed a case feature in the Serial podcast, told the Ohio Statesman that while cell phone records can provide someone's estimated location, they can't pinpoint an individual's exact location. Kohberger, the 28 former grad student, is charged 4 counts, first-degree murder of the seniors, Maddie, Kaylee, Xana, and Ethan. In the 18-page probable cause affidavit, which must only be detailed enough to give law enforcement the authority to make the arrest, not supportive of conviction, police said that they used DNA evidence, surveillance footage, and vehicle records to hone in on the former Washington State University graduate student. The statement spoke with Levitin to ask about law enforcement agency use of the cell phone records in the criminal investigation. Was Kohberger near the King Road home before the stabbings? In the affidavit, the Moscow police alleged that Kohberger used his cell phone in the coverage areas of the King Road home at least 12 times before the November stabbings. But Levitin said that a typical cell phone tower covers an area of 12 square miles. Some could be miles away from the nearest cell tower, and Moscow is roughly 3 by 5 mile town. Quote, you cannot pinpoint a person, Levitin said about cell phone records. There's no chance of any expert in the world can tell you where a person is located. Levitin added that the nearest cell tower from King Road home covers an area of 27.3 square miles, the same size as nearly 14,000 football fields. Moscow police said Kohberger historical phone records were pulled to determine where Kohberger stalked any of the victims before the stabbings. Levitin said that if authorities during the court proceedings try to show Kohberger visited the home 12 times, they will be wrong and could damage their case. So it looks like this here is the coverage areas of these particular cell towers that are in question. It says in November, 4 university students were stabbed to death. And okay, was Kohberger in Moscow area during the stabbings? Levitin said that authorities could definitely use cell phone records to tell whether a person is traveling or an individual is using their cell phone, because as someone moves throughout the area, the cell phone transfers from one cell tower to the next as it goes next to the cell range. In the affidavit, allegedly Kohberger traveled from Blaine, Idaho, which is just south of Moscow, to Pullman from 4:50 a.m. to roughly 5:50 a.m. roughly. Sluthi, I have something that I'm going to send you if you're still in the chat, and I think that you could use this and kind of match it up with, it's just something that I was having a conversation with someone in my private Discord the other day. I'm going to send you that after I get off stream, and I want you to take a look at it, and you can coincide it to this article and see what you think. I don't know if you're still in here, but if you are, or if you go back and watch the replay, I'm going to send that to you because this is interesting. Okay, so the cell record, I'm going to send that chat with you. I think that you'll take a lot of interest in that. The cell records, police say, match up with Washington State University surveillance footage that showed a white Hyundai Elantra, the same car model Kohberger owned, traveling through Pullman campus. Kohberger's cell records never show him traveling to Moscow on the night of the homicides. And the affidavit alleged that he attempted to conceal his location during the quadruple homicide because his cell phone wasn't showing up on a network from 2:47 a.m. to 4:48 a.m. Police in the affidavit said the phone was not reporting to the network. I mean, we really kind of know all this stuff. Levitin said that it's impossible to know. I think it's just the expert's opinion as well too. So Levitin said that it is impossible to know for sure if Kohberger turned his phone off unless someone had called Kohberger during the 2-hour period, and the call records show that his phone went straight to voicemail. He added that if someone's phone doesn't show up on the network, it all means that it didn't receive calls or texts used in any apps in the area at that time. Here's the cell phone tower right here is one that they're talking about. Cell phone tower near Colton, Washington. How many cell towers are in Moscow? A list provided Levitin, which he gathered from years testifying in the various cases, showed that a total of 4 towers in Moscow, including the nearest one on King Road. You're going to love the thing that I send you, Sleuthy. There are other towers near the city of Moscow, according to Levitin's list. and the Residence Street, East F Street, Paradise Ridge. Cell Towers also sits along Foothill Road, which is west of Moscow Mountain and about 10 miles outside of the city. The FCC doesn't maintain a complete national database of cell towers spokesperson said the data that the FCC doesn't maintain includes cell towers that are primarily used for broadcasting and phones over 200 feet within a glide slope of an airport. But the FCC database only shows 2 cell towers within the city limits, and Lebanon said that most cell towers are not in the database. They are the closest towers to King Road's home, where they're along Pullman Road, just off Idaho-Washington border, and the next in the Moscow Church of Nazarene, according to the FCC database. Both those structures are roughly 2 miles from the off-campus house. The nearest cell tower is from Lebanon's list, a little over half a mile from King Road home. AT&T, which is the bride of Kohberger's phone, declined to comment to suggest that the statement reached out to the Telecommunications Industry Association. The association declined to comment. How reliable are cell phone records in court? Lebanon said that cell phone records are completely reliable, but the authorities tend to overplay them, and added a cell phone record could help exclude suspects by showing where they were in tower coverage areas. But Lebanon said when someone does not show up in the coverage cell phone, it doesn't mean they are at the scene of the crime. Cell phone records are evidence, are very reliable and useful, but it's not DNA. Lebanon said in a follow-up email, it doesn't have any precision that would allow you to pinpoint a person's phone. The best as the state can say is that the phone was in a 27 square mile of included in crimes in 12. It sounds to me this guy is like back and forth in this article. Oh yeah, I mean, it could be this or it could be that. Some interesting information. Sleuthie, I have something that I'm going to send to you. If anybody's interested in this article, I'll drop it in the chat. You guys can go back and read it over. And I know I kind of buzzed through it really quick, but have at it. Sleuthie, thanks for sending that. And what I want to do is if I can find my quick little thing, I'm going to send that over, and I think you'll find it very interesting to what this gentleman talked about and what we were talking about. Hang on one second. I might have to find the document. Let me take a look in a book. Yeah, of course. Thanks, Sleuthie, for that article. Let's see. Don't think I have it right in front of me, but I will get it to you, and I think it'll be interesting. I don't want to hold up the show too much longer, but I'll get that to you, Sleuthie. Thank you for sharing that article. Okay, let's keep going through here. All right, here we go.
Well, it's a very unusual situation that we have on our hands here. The crime scene itself, what was seemingly and apparently random, and now we have a young man, Larry Kobalinski, 28 years of age, who has studied criminology for a long time and is a very even demeanor, according to authorities, while in custody and only asking a single question as reported, has anyone else been arrested? How does it complicate the analysis of dealing with someone with his kind of skills and background?
Well, it's hard because he studied criminal justice, obviously, and he studied crime. And he's even done surveys to see how people felt as they were committing crimes. It seems that what I heard in this TikTok presentation is that he was into drugs even as a young person. And this might explain the rage and the passion and the terrible stabbing that he did to these 4 students. And he may have been on stimulants. He may have progressed from heroin, which is more down, to amphetamines and cocaine and things of that sort. And that might explain the viciousness of the attack.
Now, Counselor, at the end of the day, we only know what authorities can show. And as tantalizing as it may be, his background his criminology studies, and how he appears in pictures and from reports, they're going to have to show what for this to stick?
Well, they're going to have to show that it was, they believe they're charging him with first degree. So they're going to have to show that it was premeditated, that it wasn't a situation where he just ended up in that room. There was a scuffle and this terrible scene happened. They're going to have to show that this was planned in order for a first degree murder conviction to stick. And I think that the autopsy report.
All right, let's just pause this real quick. Let's recognize the new member. Carrie H has become a new member of the channel. I appreciate your subscription to the channel. If anybody wants to get, that is a member that has become a member or a current member, we have a private Discord for paid members only. If you want to become a member, you can go down there and hit the join button below. I have subscriptions that start at $1.99 monthly that will get you into the private Discord server, and we have a lot of back channel conversations there as well. The way to get into it is go to my community page on my homepage. You can just scroll down. You'll see the Discord link. You can go in there and get into our private chat. But as we always do, we got to give the tones. We got to give the tones, everybody. Let's give it the tones.
Steven.
Haven't done that one in a while. All right. Let's keep playing on. Let's keep playing on.
Reports showing that these victims were likely asleep when they were first stabbed, at least, which is absolutely terrible. I think that that's going to take care of that, the chance that anybody could argue that it wasn't premeditated, because obviously if you're going and stabbing people that are sleeping, there's only really one reason to do that. So I think just with those bare facts, it's a very, very strong case for a first degree argument. I don't think that there's much that a defense is going to be able to argue that it wasn't premeditated. Now, getting into the history of drugs, the long history of drugs, obviously, since he was in high school, maybe even before then, there could very well be a mental health defense. There could be.
When we get to 150 likes, I'm going to gift a membership to someone. When we get to 150 likes, I'm going to gift a membership. So go down there and smash that like button. Once we get to 150, I'm going to gift out a monthly membership. Free. It's free. It's free to hit that button.
About he
Smash the
didn't
like
have the
button.
capacity at the time to form that intent. And that's where the argument is going to be, for sure.
Now, would not help you so much on the issue of guilt, but this is a death penalty state in Idaho. And obviously, sentencing, you're going to have different aggravating, mitigating circumstances. Now, look, we're a very long way from that, Kobylinski, because the main thing that we have to have established here is putting him in the house. Now, they charged him with felony burglary in addition to the 4 homicides, which is, of course, a layering charge just to put more irons in the fire, but also suggests, Larry, they could put him in the house. And picking this guy up who wasn't in any of the video.
That guy, dude, that guy's background. And there's like a comment, the top comment says, the clutter wall behind the doctor is a work of art. And I love that comment on this video. It's so great.
Chris, he's definitely in the house. His DNA is either mixed with blood of the victims, or
when we get to
it's
150
on
likes,
or
I'm going to give away a
underneath
free
the
membership.
fingernails
I just need 4
of
people
the
to smash
victim.
the like button.
I think we may have frozen.
No, I got you, Larry.
think
Keep
that
talking.
I'm sorry, there may be DNA under the fingernails of the victim. And that would, these people tried to defend themselves. There were defense wounds, and 1 or 2 may have scratched at the assailant. And it may very well be DNA under the fingernails, and that will tie him completely. There also may be mixtures of blood. And as you heard earlier today, Cece explained that these mixtures
we got
can
to
be
150. I'm
deconvoluted,
gonna gift out a
and you can
membership.
come up with
Yeah.
his profile.
I mean, look, here's the troubling suspicion at this point. He didn't belong in the house. He's not a contemporary. He doesn't go to the university. He didn't live there. He's not somebody we saw that night. He's not somebody that the family is coming out and say, oh, no, that guy, we've known him forever. So, again, it's for the prosecutor to do the work. But it's not something where, okay, like the boyfriend early on or the other guy on the videotape, where there needs to be an explanation for context. Hey, thank you for watching.
Oh,
please go.
Hey. Oh. All right, let's keep going on. Let's keep moving on. Let's keep moving on. Oh, everybody's favorite, Banfield. Everybody's favorite. All right, let's play this.
There is also
This is the Brady Giglio. Okay, I'm on the wrong video again. Damn it. Hang on one second. I want to get to an earlier video. Okay, let's see. Okay, this one here is one of the attorneys for Bryan Kohberger. I think this first public defender.
The ground and legal process that lies ahead for the suspect is attorney Bryan Claypool. Bryan, thank you so much for being here. You know, we have a Fox digital reporter, Christina Corbin. She's on the ground in Moscow, Idaho, been doing incredible reporting. She did do a sit-down interview with the Moscow police chief, and she asked the question that so many of us are also asking. Take a listen.
Does the suspect have any known connection to the victims or the victims' extended network, or do you believe these 4 victims were randomly targeted?
You know, that's part of that investigation that we're still putting pieces together. We're still gathering information. That's why we still ask people, you know, send us tips on the individual. Send us any information you have, because that's all going to build part of that picture. Still, it's going to give us even more information.
Bryan, the chief told Christina that they received about 400 calls within an hour, which leads me to believe to question how exactly they got to the point where they were getting to the point to arrest this guy.
Hey, Alicia, great to be with you and Happy New Year. I mean, I think the game changer was the car. I've learned that they traced this car for weeks and finally located it, and that's what led them to Kohberger. But look, what really concerns me here is we're all happy that he's been arrested, but we can't do the celebration parade yet. He hasn't been convicted. And let's walk through the process. The first stage of a murder prosecution is an arrest. It takes less evidence to get an arrest warrant than it does to sustain what's called a preliminary hearing that's going to happen in a couple of weeks in Idaho, and then an actual trial. And why is that important? Because these forensic experts, Alicia, they are going to have to work around the clock. You've got 4 potential crime scenes. You've got the scene of the crime, his apartment, Pullman, you got the parents' home, and you've got the car. They've got to be scouring all 4.
My bad. This is not BK's public defender.
4 of those, especially the car now. For example,
I
any
get
blood
2.
stains in the car, any hair fibers on the seat of the car, any fingerprints on the steering wheel that might have DNA. And here's another big game changer. I think this could be the breaking piece of evidence in this case. They are going to need to get a DNA sample, a DNA swab of Kohberger. Either he does it voluntarily, they got to get a court order ASAP to get his DNA swab. And 2 of these victims had defense wounds. So I bet you anything that there might be some his skin under the fingernails of 2 of these victims. And they'll now be able to do that DNA match. I think that's really what's going to break this case. Now, last point I want to make is you got his phone, right? You got to go back to phone records, any text messages, because it would really help the case, Alicia, if they could show he knew these victims, right? Because the chief came out and said, look, this was targeted. So was he texting any of these victims on social media? Was he connected to any of these victims?
Right.
And then also his bank records.
And we can't, right. And we don't have those answers yet because under Idaho law, everything is sealed until he gets to the state of Idaho, which leads me to the question about extradition. He has an extradition hearing next week.
The funny thing is, I actually really need glasses. And I think when I get glasses, they're going to be probably something like this. I'll probably just do standard black and then maybe something fun like the blues or something. But I already said, if anybody wants to send me some glasses, I'll wear them live on the show. You can send them. My PO box is always down, posted in the comment section or the description section. I have a PO box. You can send me stuff there.
Could he fight this in a way that will significantly slow things down, or do you think he's going to be in Idaho by next week?
Right. I think he's going to be in Idaho by next week. And again, I'm not defending this guy, but if he's smart and his lawyer, if he's talked to a lawyer and his lawyer is smart, they would waive extradition. Why? Because that accelerates the process. Under Idaho law, for example, within 14 days, Alicia, of him having his first court appearance in Idaho, there has to be a preliminary hearing. That's critical because the prosecutors then need to have what's called substantial evidence at that preliminary hearing to prove each element of the crime. That's why this forensic analysis process is crucial. It's got to be done 24/7 within the next 2 weeks.
Bryan Claypole, we appreciate your time and expertise today, and we do want to wish you a Happy New Year.
Thanks so much. Happy New Year.
Okay. Let's hang on one second, guys. Okay, let's move on. If you all want me to keep going, give me a 1 in the chat or a 2 in the chat for me to stop. 1 or 2. And if you haven't already, smash that like button. It's free. And if you're first over here on the channel, please make sure to subscribe and hit the bell notifications. All right, we'll keep moving on here. All right, let me see 1 second. This one was very interesting too. I kind of pushed it up a little bit because there was some music and I don't want to get whacked for the music. So let me just bring this up. Hang on 1 second. I wish StreamYard had the ability to queue multiple tabs and you just literally click on the tab and it just brings up, but it doesn't do that. StreamYard, fix your shit. All right, let's play this.
So a suspect in the murder of the university.
This is a criminal lawyer. I'm going to give a shout out to this channel, CLR Bruce Rivers. And this was posted on December 30th, 2022. If y'all are interested in his channel, please go over and check him out. I'm going to play through this and I'm sure that he won't mind the play on my stream tonight.
Of Idaho students has been apprehended today. This is breaking news. His name is Bryan Christopher Kohberger. He's 28 years old, and this is the thing that's really kind of freaky about this dude. He is a PhD student in criminology at Washington State University. So he was about 15 minutes away. Now, one of the ways that I think on like December 7th or thereabouts, they put out a press release. And in that press, there's going to be another press release today at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. There was a press release where they put out the kind of car that he had. And the FBI opened a call center because they were flooded with all kinds of tips. And let me tell you something. In today's day and age, guess what's all over the place? All over the place. I don't care where the hell you are. Cameras. Cameras on our phones, cameras in the sky, cameras on light poles, cameras in most urban areas, almost everywhere, cameras in an elevator. You can almost do nothing without getting busted on a camera, right? So, and we have got cameras on doorbells, so there's so much digital information out there. And so my understanding is that there was a white sedan, and that's one of the ways they caught him. Now, he was a graduate student at the Washington State University in Pullman, Washington, and he PhD candidate in the Department of Criminal Justice and Criminology at the university. And there's some really, really creepy information about what he was studying and about victims and something about serial killers. And you can see him in the picture here in his being apprehended. He's got what they call, some people call it a turtle suit, but it's a suicide vest. It's and I don't know why he's got that on. Maybe because he's spouting all kinds of crazy bullshit when he's in jail. But he has been apprehended, and these guys who are super bright are the most dangerous because like the Unabomber, for example, he evaded capture forever. However, I don't think he would have evaded capture today like he did then, because like I said, there's such a digital footprint for everybody everywhere, and that's why he was off the grid, the Unabomber, that is. But it's the same kind of area. And the other thing is the medical examiner has indicated that all 4 people were likely asleep when they were stabbed to death. Just so sad and so senseless. We don't have a motive. We don't have a connection yet to these college students, but more information will be coming out in the press conference, and we'll cover that too when that comes out. So I just wanted to give you guys a quick update on the Idaho situation. Oh, in addition, there were defensive wounds, so there was a struggle with some of them. One of the things, and I don't know if this played a part in this or not, but when somebody attacks you, especially if you're a female. They'll scratch, they'll get DNA under the fingernails. There's all kinds of DNA and other kinds of genetic material that you will leave behind. We'll see where this goes. But he has not just been apprehended. He has been formally charged with murder in the first degree. What's murder in the first degree? Murder in the first degree is murder with the premeditation. That means it's pre-planned. You think about it ahead of time. Given what we know about this, my guess is that you can develop premeditation at any point, even just seconds before. But my guess is what we have here is a more diabolical scheme to kill these people. And I don't know if they're random or if there is a connection. We just don't know quite yet. We'll find out after the press conference. So the next step for him is to go to an arraignment and bail hearing. Arraignment's where you plead not guilty and they read you the charges in court, and then they determine bail or conditions of release. His bail is going to be through the roof. He's evading capture, and it's 4 homicides. So my guess is that bail should be up around $10 million. That's just a guess. If he's convicted, there's no
big time, dude. It's so chosen.
Life.
Yo, it's so funny that you just saw that because I totally was just checking that out. It's a Rolex Daytona, I believe.
Sentences.
I can't
The
see the
last
glare.
time somebody
no, it's not a Daytona. It's a Breitling.
hanged in Idaho was 1957. Idaho reinstated the death penalty in 1974, so he could not only be looking at stiff prison, he could be looking at the death penalty. And I'd be shocked if there isn't. And I don't support the death penalty. I'm just not a fan of it. I think that we shouldn't be in the government shouldn't be in the business of killing people. But that being said, if there's ever a case that would meet the requirements for a death penalty, this would be it. And so he could be looking at a death sentence for sure. So this has just been a quick update to let you know what's going on Bryan Christopher Kohberger. And we'll keep you posted and we'll react to whatever comes up in terms of the news, if it's something you want to know. And if there's specific questions you have about this case or any case.
I kind of like this guy. I don't know. There's something about him that's just very likable.
Go ahead and just send a comment and I'll do whatever.
He's just kind of chatting, just kind of a chatty guy, just relaxed and chatty.
I can to try to get them. You can also send me a DM on Instagram. So make sure you follow us on Instagram, follow us on Twitter, subscribe, and sign up for Patreon. And we'll see you next time here on Criminal Lawyer Reacts.
I like him. I like that. He's pretty good. Check his channel out. Bruce Rivers. Shout out to Bruce Rivers. Shout out to blah, blah, blah. Wow, I can't say that. All right, let's keep moving on here. I got something from Law and Crime Network here. This is going to be with who do I got here? Anjanette Levy. I got the video with Anjanette Levy talking about this case. All right. And as we know, she is an expert on BTK.
He defies many of the formulas. So I thought that was
Let me back this up.
Catherine's fine. You can call me Catherine.
Dr. Catherine Ramsland.
I'm sorry. Why did I say Anjanette Levy?
Who teaches at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. We're learning one of her students was Bryan Kohberger, the man now charged with murdering 4 University of Idaho students.
I'm telling you, I'm getting confused with all the names. There's too many names in this case, damn it.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to this special edition
I meant
of Law
Anjanette
and Crime
Levy's
Sidebar Podcast.
segment. Sorry.
28-year-old Bryan Kohberger is being held without bail at the
names, they're
Monroe County
confusing
Jail
me.
in Pennsylvania
people.
on those murder charges. He was arrested at his parents' home on Friday morning just before 2 a.m. Moscow police say they seized a 2015 white Elantra, but have offered few other details. Kohberger faces 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of felony burglary and will have to be extradited to Idaho to face charges for the murders of Haley Gonsalves, Maddie Mogan, Ethan
I just want to recognize this really quick. Alex says, I remember watching these streams when there was only a handful of people. Look at you now, Bryan. Congratulations. I'm happy for you. Alex, thank you so much. I do appreciate it. Listen, it's a grind. YouTube is a long game. I've been in it for 3 years. I've switched topics a few times, and I've really kind of niched into something that I'm very passionate about, and I've been passionate about my whole life. I have a story about I did a live stream about my friend that was murdered. You can go back and look at that live stream if you want to check it out and check out my story. I'm not going to really go too much into it tonight, but I feel like we all need to know. We all need to know what happened. And we're here and we've been here for months, and we mull over all this evidence and this information in this case. And we become attached and we get emotional. We get very emotional. This brings up a lot of emotions in people. And it gets to me sometimes. And what I try to do, and like I've said this in previous streams too, is what I try to do is act like a fly on the wall that night that this happened. And I just observe and just try to put the pieces together and figure it all out. And I think that's what a lot of us do. And we read articles and we hear rumors and we see things. And there's just a lot of that going on right now. And hopefully this will get all sorted. Hopefully this will all get sorted soon, and we find out what really happened. But I appreciate it. It's cool that you pop back in and to recognize this. And it's not me that does this. It's this community, and it's building this community, and that's what I want to do. I want to have a positive community and give back in any way that we can here, and maybe help some people. And then my dream is to grow this and get it literally out of my bedroom. I'm in my bedroom. Literally get it out of my bedroom and into a building or an office or something, and have guests on and hear their stories, and maybe have some people on that have a cold case going on, and we can bring new attention to it and just have them tell their story, and advocate for those cold cases and investigate this. So, that's my dream. And right now this is where we're at, and we're going to keep going, and slow and steady wins the race. So if I can build this community and build these people in this chat and have a welcoming chat and a good community, that's what I want. So anyway, we'll move on with this video.
Chapin and Xana Kernodle. Police executed a search warrant at Kohberger's apartment in Pullman, Washington, Friday.
Be right back.
Kohberger was a PhD student at Washington State University studying criminal justice and criminology. Washington State University is about 10 miles from Moscow, Idaho, where those murders were committed on November 13th. A spokesperson for the university said Kohberger had just completed his first semester in the program. Before WSU, Kohberger was a master's student at DeSales University in Pennsylvania. And one of his professors was Dr. Catherine Ramsland. She teaches classes in serial killers. She's a forensic psychologist, and she has actually appeared on some of Law and Crime's podcasts, including Sidebar and Cocktails and Cocktails. This is what she told Sean Stix Larkin about her work earlier this year.
I actually consult on death investigations. I do police trainings. I talk about profiling and psychological autopsy, which is really about suicidology. So I have a whole class just in that. And I have a class in dangerous minds that I teach at the undergraduate and graduate level. And that is really about extreme offenders, which is mass murderers, spree killers, and serial killers. So that's primarily what I do most of my work on, and most of what the students want from me. That class fills up very quickly.
I actually spoke with a student who was in that serial killer class with Bryan Kohberger, and he told me that Kohberger often interrupted Dr. Ramsland, talking over her as if he knew more about the subject matter than she did. Now, in that interview with Sean Stix Larkin, Dr. Ramsland talked a little bit more about how she became interested in studying serial killers.
It chose me more than I chose it, but I love it. I think it's really interesting, and I'm constantly finding new ideas, new motivations. We have formulas related to serial killers, but For example, I spent 5 years talking with Dennis Rader, the BTK serial killer, because he defies many of the formulas. So I thought that was interesting. I wanted to know more about that. And I think I'm always looking for the outliers rather than the ones that fit the mold. I want to see the ones that don't fit the mold and how did they get to be the way they are. And in psychology, as opposed to criminology, we're looking more at the cases, the individual details of someone's life story and the trajectory, basically. Whereas in criminology, you're looking more at groups and trends and statistics and things like that.
Thank you so much,
I'm much
Jessica.
more
I
interested
appreciate
in
you.
just the case details. So that's
Thank
why
you.
I like talking to people who are willing to explore
Thank you.
how they got to be the way they are. And, you know, I can spend many hours doing that. So I didn't choose it, but I'm really happy I'm in this field.
Ramsland also spoke with Cocktails and Cocktails about talking with serial killers face to face. And
imagine if she said, and then she's like, and Ramsland also spoke with the opinionated idiot. That would be hilarious.
Through letters.
I assume in your career you've come face to face.
I thought about a channel name change. I'll be honest with you. I had a really good podcast name prior to this name, and I thought about going back to it, but I don't know. This seems to be kind of like the popular name right now.
Face with a lot of these gentlemen, correct?
Yeah, I would not. I'm like, you can't just go into prisons and come face to face with them. But yeah, I've talked to them on the phone, through correspondence, sometimes in prison.
Have you ever gotten that just like this?
So this channel, I'm just going to answer Daniel's question really quick. This channel had 2 different names before I settled on this and kind of changed directions. When it first opened, it was called Beyond Time. And I used to be in the watch industry for about 16 years. So I did a lot of watch content on my channel. And then I switched to Let's Talk Live podcast. And I thought about actually going back to that name. But I don't know. I've kind of thrown around, OPI Media or something like that, because it's tough. Like I reached out to I've reached out to a few people, and I think I just get turned down because I'm like, my channel is the opinionated idiot, and I don't think they take me as serious. So I don't know. I've kind of thrown around some names and some ideas, but I kind of like this right now. It's people are getting used to it. I call you guys all my idiots, and it's no harm in doing that. It's just kind of joking around. But I don't know. I haven't really settled on anything yet. Anyway, we'll keep playing through this. I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, I just kind of froze in time for a second.
This is just pure evil. This guy.
Yeah, I was gonna say when I reached out to
See, I have a hard time with the word evil.
Speaking of BTK, I'm reading this email. I reached out to Carrie Rawson to ask if she would come on the show because she was kind of comparing Kohberger and her father. And it's fine. Her email's public. I'm not going to show the email, but I just basically said, hey, I hope this email finds you. My name's Bryan. I'm the host of the Opinionated Idiot YouTube channel, a channel that covers true crime and political subjects. I'm reaching out to you because I think I'd like that you've been following the Bryan Kohberger Idaho 4 case, and I recently came across your interview on the Interview Room where you talked about the comparison between your father and some of the similarities in relation to Bryan Kohberger. And I kind of told her what I do. And she said, thanks, I appreciate the offer, but I'm currently stepping back from media to finish up my second book, so I need to decline at this time. And she said, all the best, Carrie. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean that she wouldn't come on here, but I think maybe with the idiot thing. So I don't know.
I got you. All right.
Because it's kind of a religious context.
Okay.
Do I think, have I come face to face with psychopaths? Absolutely. The coldness, the lack of remorse, definitely. So some people,
thank you, Victorine. I appreciate you.
Evil, but we are finding that it might very well be a brain disorder.
Huh.
Neuroscience is giving us a lot of information about the brains of psychopaths, and they do process things differently. They have very
Hey,
shallow,
maybe we're gonna hit 3,500
emotional
subscribers tonight. I'm at 3485 right now. I mean, we're only 15 away. Look at what we've
that's a
done.
different story.
Pretty cool.
As you can imagine, we want to talk to Dr.
My goal is 5,000 by the preliminary trial. That's where I want to be. On that day, I wanna
about
get
her
5,000.
experience teaching Bryan Kohberger. We reached out to her and she said that she is not making any statements at this time. That's it for this edition of Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. It is
All right. I still have time. If you guys want me to keep going, I'll keep playing through. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 more videos. I mean, I can play them if you want me to. Let me know. Give me a 1 in the chat or a 2 to stop. 1 if you want me to keep going. 2 if you want me to stop. Roll on. Tsunami says keep going. Everybody says keep going. All right, we're gonna keep going. I'm getting some 1s. All right, let's roll out. Dun, 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 dun. Dun, dun.
They've been living a nightmare, not to mention the nightmare that the families of these 4 victims will continue to live as this trial gets underway and the case pushes forward. I want to welcome in now Janice Dilbor. She's a criminal defense attorney. She's done a lot of research on the death penalty, which Idaho does have. She's also worked in a city attorney's office. Jana, thank you for being with us this morning. So this is a status hearing tomorrow where Bryan Kohberger will appear before a judge. What should we expect?
Come on, man. Okay, well, a status hearing usually is not anything monumental. It's basically an opportunity for the judge and the counsels, defense attorney and prosecutors, to figure out what the next steps will be. In a case like this, as a matter of fact, in any case where somebody is being held behind bars without bail, due process kicks in. And the defense attorneys are either going to have to schedule what we call a preliminary hearing to challenge the probable cause, or Mr. Kohberger needs to be indicted by a grand jury. One of those two things needs to happen in order to just...
So let's address this really quick. Do you have any information on the tripod video? I know of the rumor that I've heard of. I haven't heard any reported solid information. You know, my channel here, I stick to what's being reported, and then we sort through the facts. I have to have a credible source that reports it, and I'm happy to go through it. That's kind of the material that you're going to get here. We stick to the facts here. We stick to what's reported, and then we try to find everything that's in between. I can't go off of what the brother's son's father said. If it's something that's reported, you have a link, email it to me. We'll vet it. We'll look at it, and then we'll go from there. Heather's saying that I have to go to bed soon. I will watch on the rest on replay. Thank you, Bryan. All the awesome mods, and of course the amazing chat. Everyone stay safe. Thank you, Heather, so much. You do a great job in the chat. That's why you're one of my moderators. I appreciate you. And thank you. Christine Brown says, please become a member of the special perks, less than $2 a month. And it will get you into the our Discord server. You just go over to the community board. You can check out the link once you become a member, and we can go from there. All right, let's keep playing through this. I'm going to go till 11:30 tonight, so another about 40 minutes, and then we're going to shut the stream down.
Justify keeping him in custody. My guess, if we have no surprises, will be they will schedule this for a preliminary hearing, if there are no surprises.
Is there any way this doesn't go to trial based on the evidence that you've seen
no problem.
publicly so far?
We try to stick to what's reported. We try to look through the we try to look through the the evidence, the PCAs, the search warrants, and we go from there. If there's some credible information that comes across and it's sourced, some credibility, then we'll explore it. So listen, everybody has their own angles on this case. I'm not faulting them for that. There's a lot of people that have different theories. You know, we've talked about some of them that this is all a big setup, that it could be the Moscow police that's all involved in this, the FBI, aliens that came down, it's drug cartels, it's drug lords. Listen, that's your own prerogative. If you want to talk about those certain things on your channel, then please do. A lot of people don't think that Bryan Kohberger did this. We don't know. I mean, right now, he is innocent until proven guilty. And, you know, like I said, we sort through the evidence and just go through that and make our assumptions, our opinions based on that. So we'll keep playing through.
That's a big question. The tea leaves tell me if there is an opportunity for Bryan Kohberger to take some sort of plea and avoid the death penalty, which would require him to admit guilt, obviously, if he's willing to do that, if there's enough other evidence that we haven't seen yet, it's possible that that deal may be on the table. But I got to tell you something, the horrificness of these crimes and the families that we feel such sympathy for, I don't know if prosecutors are going to be ready to make some sort of deal like that, especially if there is more evidence out there than we've already seen in the affidavit, the probable cause affidavit.
Right. So the prosecutors, the families, they want this to go to trial. It's the pursuit of justice, right? So what is their best piece of evidence to get a conviction in this case?
Okay, so the best piece is something that we have not seen yet. Maybe we will see it, maybe we won't. And that is, I would like to see the victim's DNA someplace in Bryan Kohberger's vicinity, meaning not his DNA at their house, although that would be telling too, right? We have that one little piece of DNA on a knife sheath. But if they find victim's DNA in his car, in items in his home, in items where we know these victims did not voluntarily go, then I think it's really game over, and maybe they can start talking some deal at that point. But we haven't seen that yet, and I don't know if we will.
You can't hide from DNA, right? So how likely is it that they could find just a tiny, tiny piece, and all of these weeks later, what, 7, 8 weeks later?
Yeah, you know, I'm of the belief that, you know, DNA is very insidious. It gets everywhere. No matter how much you try to clean up a place, like his car, for example, if he did this crime, his car would be full of victims' blood. And now we know that there's evidence that he cleaned that up. But can you ever really? There's always some sort of trace evidence left behind. And if authorities go through his car, which they will, and they find anything that connects the victims to his car, that's going to be probably the biggest piece of evidence that we've seen so far. Because look, I mean, it looks bad for him, but as a defense attorney, they're going to say, well, wait a minute, just because you have his phone in an area doesn't mean he was with his phone, doesn't mean he was at that house. There are some other explanations that's their job to put forth. So we have not seen yet the smoking gun, but believe me, everybody's going to be looking for that.
Right. And you've got these two things, Jonna. So you've got the investigation and the evidence, and then you've got this big why. Why? What was the motive? Why did he do this? Will we ever know? Will that be part of prosecutors' focus in trying to figure that out, tell that to a jury?
We so want to know. We so want to know, what is the connection? Why did he target these people? Unfortunately, motive is never an element of any of these crimes. It does help give us perspective. It would help give a jury perspective, because that's a big question. Why them? He wasn't even in that part of the country for that long. Why them, and why that night? These are major questions we may never have the answer to, and he still could get convicted.
Quickly before we go, Idaho does have the death penalty likely in this case if this thing goes to a jury?
If there was ever a reason to have it, it would be a case like this. So senseless, multiple murders, yes. And perhaps Bryan Kohberger's best defense might be just saving his own life and not trying to take this to trial to find him not guilty.
It's been a sickening and chilling case since the beginning. Criminal defense attorney Jonna Spilbor, thank you. Appreciate your perspective this morning.
Thank you.
All right, we'll keep playing through here.
I went out to the jail at 5 o'clock.
Public defender who represented Kohberger. And Bryan, you have just spoken with that public defender who represented Kohberger immediately after his arrest. What have you learned?
Yeah, this was interesting, actually, because last time we saw the public defender in Pennsylvania, Jason Labar, he was with Kohberger in court. I was in the courtroom, but he had not seen the 18-page probable cause. So now he has. I asked him what he thought about it, and he says he thinks there are holes in the probable cause. He is questioning the phone pings. He says that those pings are not specific GPS coordinates, and he says the defense can have a field day with those pings, calling them out. He is also questioning the description of Kohberger from the surviving roommate, that description that she says was, you know, the man who is about 6 feet tall and the bushy eyebrows. He says it's just not specific enough. And then I asked him about the statement. Remember that statement that he initially put out right after Kohberger was arrested? Very interesting. Kohberger had a lot to do with that statement. Listen to what he told me. The statement that you released from Kohberger, where he, you know, said that he was innocent, essentially, did you write the statement with him? I don't know if you can share how that statement came about.
The statement came about Friday night when I talked to him, and then I went out to the jail at 5 o'clock. I know there was a lot of people, a lot of news media outlet at the jail at that time. But I knew it was dark out, so I could essentially sneak in under the cover of dark and be able to talk to him without anyone knowing that I was actually there. And I spoke to him for about an hour. I let him know about the statement, that I wanted to get a statement out there because with all.
You want to build the case. And that Lopez, it doesn't make sense that why they would wait so long to arrest him if they knew it isn't suspicious enough to bring him in. You want to build a solid case to make sure that this is actually, you know, 100% the subject that you're going after. Suspect.
The news media, I knew there was going to obviously be issues as far as him receiving potentially a fair trial. People jumping to conclusions.
Yeah.
You know, automatically you worry about the presumption of innocence and the integrity of the criminal justice system. So I said, Bryan, is it okay if we get a statement out? And that's when he brought up the.
Well, I got my premium membership tonight. That's why.
Exonerated language, and obviously that was included in the statement.
So that was him. That was him who wanted to put that in.
The eager to be exonerated was the language he used. We put it in the statement. But obviously, when I talked to him about the eager to be exonerated, to me, when we talked about it, it was more or less he was asserting innocence, but that's the language he used.
So very interesting, Ashley, that Bryan Kohberger, is the one who came up with those words, eager to be exonerated. Mr. Labar also said he does not believe that Kohberger can get a fair trial here in Moscow, Idaho. He believes that this trial will likely eventually be moved to another jurisdiction.
Too. I 100% think so,
I think
too.
Mr. Labar, it brings up a very good point. This is the kind of thing we have to deal with every time there's a high-profile crime and a high-profile defendant. Every time we've covered a Casey Anthony or an O.J. Simpson or a Jodi Arias, there's the issue of how to pick a jury where everybody knows everything about the case. And by the way, you can. Because they all had fair juries. They all found juries in those cases. So it will be difficult, granted. So I wanted to ask you a little bit about this hearing tomorrow. It's so hard, Bryan, to find out any information with the gag order. But we do know one thing, and I don't know if it's telling. They had to move the time. Was there some security issue or some particular reason why all of a sudden the docket changed and the time for his appearance changed?
It's a good question, and you mentioned it. Because of the gag order, we can't call up the defense, or we can't call up the prosecutor. We can't even call up the police. None of them are allowed to talk to us. But yes, it's now been moved to 8 a.m. We're told by the courts, they actually put out a release today saying that they believe that it will be short and mainly focused on scheduling. Likely both sides are going to talk about when exactly they want to have a preliminary hearing.
So maybe that's the reason that Steve and Christy Gonzalez, as News Nation learned exclusively tonight, are not going to be in that courtroom. They're going to follow this by Zoom. I think, thank God for them, the overwhelming emotion that it takes just to get rest in the morning, that you have to look across the courtroom at the man who's accused of killing your baby. So the curiosity of the 8 a.m., it's such a small courtroom. And last time there was this long line. I saw you and so many other journalists. And then there's the public. It's a public process. Do we know if the public's going to be let in again, or if they're going to have to do a huge organized, line to pick the first 10 and that's it?
Yeah, it seems the public will be let in. You mentioned it. There were just two women I just met out here right before your show started who said they're going to be here tomorrow morning trying to get in the courtroom. I'll probably get here at least 2 hours early to line up because there was such a long line last time, and it's a small place. I mean, it's a small jail and it's a small courtroom, so they can only let in so many people.
Thank you for watching. Go to newsnationnow.com.
All right. Ooh, this next one's very long. Okay, I'm gonna play. Hang on a second. All right, I'm gonna play this one last video. You're gonna get it's another Angela Levy video, and excuse me, she's gonna talk with Alan Dershowitz. And if you know Alan Dershowitz, if you know that name, very famous part of the Dream Team lawyer in the O.J. Simpson trial, and we'll get kind of his perspective on this. And then we're gonna wrap up because it's gonna take us right up to about 11:30. I did have a couple of other videos planned, but I think this is one that's really credible and I want to play through this. So we'll finish this up. Let me just look at the chat really quick. Let's see. Victorine says, I'm so glad that I discovered this channel. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it. Annie says, okay, Banfield is my voice of nightmare fuel. Chief says, Bryan, I just found your channel tonight. I'm in love. Your attitude and honesty. Thank you. Honesty and attitude and transparency will make you go a long way in this world. And I've said it from the beginning in my mission statement. When I started this journey, I don't bullshit anybody and I don't expect bullshit back. Listen, we try to keep a very fair and fun platform here. And, you know, I want to build this community. Listen, I'm not someone that is, I don't have a college degree. I barely passed high school. I have a great job. I love doing YouTube. I love true crime. I love the people in these chat. I love this community we're building. What you're going to get here, I kind of call it, from me, is water cooler talk. It's that kind of talk that you come in on Monday morning and you say, hey, did you see what happened on the news? And you kind of just rough through some things and give maybe your analysis on it. You know, could have been this, could have been that. You know, that's kind of what you're going to get from me, that everyday guy type of conversation, or everyday girl. You know, we have a lot of females that watch this show too. So I don't want to discount any of them, but I appreciate you all being here. You know, I try to do my best and give the best experience here in the live shows, because this is what I love doing. To sit down and create an 8-minute video takes me so long to do. I love just getting on, mapping out a show and performing and having that interaction, because I feel like if you have interaction from a community and people that are watching you, it elevates your energy, it elevates you to work harder, and elevates you to you know, bring a better sense of awareness to what's going on. Thank you. I appreciate it, and welcome to the group. So Karen T says, Bryan, I told you is about to blow up. I love it here. Well, we love you having here. And listen, I'm a slave to the YouTube algorithm. That's it. You know, what I say to everybody is, if you are subscribed to this channel and you really care about the channel, anytime I drop a video or I do a live, come in and interact with it, because that's what YouTube loves. They love a lot of long interaction on channels, and that you're you know, commenting, looking at the videos, giving those videos upvotes. That's what's going to help spread this channel. Listen, I'm going to keep grinding away. I said I'm going to give it till the end of the year, and I really want to see what it is. And if there's some true success there, we're going to keep going on with this journey. So you guys all make the channel go. I just hit the live button and present the show. But when you're interacting, you're coming here, you make this channel turn. So it's all about you, and it's all about this community. So thank you. Let's see. Thank you. Firefly says, best chat ever. Thank you so much. Having a diploma doesn't mean you're smart. You have very good content. Thank you. I appreciate that. And that just really touched me. Thank you. I really respect your style, especially when you say BK is innocent until proven guilty. Absolutely. And Yvette says this helps us too. And this is a new way of getting news in the future. So thank you. And Cindy is saying that she loves the show as well too. So thank you. This means a lot. It's changed my life in this short amount of time. It's just changed my life. It really has. You all have made an impact on my life, and hopefully I've made a positive impact on yours. So thank you. So let's play through this video, and then we're going to wrap up the stream tonight so we all can get some sleep. While we have this pause, I'm going to let everybody know Monday and Tuesday, I will not be available. I will not be streaming on Tuesday night. I have, for the next 48 hours, I have incredibly long work projects that I need to take care of. I will be working probably 12 hours straight on both of those days. If I feel better, if I feel okay on Tuesday, maybe I will do a stream, but I'm probably going to skip Tuesday, and part 6 will be on Thursday at 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I think after that part 6, we're going to do a wrap-up show, probably that Saturday night. And then, we'll give this some pause for a little while, cool the brakes, and unless some new information comes out. And then we'll, maybe pick up some more current cases that are going on right now. Before I leave the chat tonight, don't everybody run away. I'm going to leave the reminder link down there for Thursday night. Just go in, click the reminder button, and to go live. If this is a good pause right now, make sure to hit that, smash that like button. I really would appreciate it. I have a $2 super chat from Creed64. She said, thanks for bringing us the info that you do. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. I really do.
Cash, homie. Steven.
Thank you. All right, let's play through this video so we can get out and go to bed. It's been a long stream. Okay, let's do it.
Yes.
I'm Anjanette Levy, and welcome to Law and Crime Sidebar Podcast. Bryan Kohberger is in the Latah County Jail being held without bail for the murders of Maddie Mogen, Kaylee Gonsalves, Xana Kernodle, and Ethan Chapin back on November 13th of last year. The prosecution claims the murders were planned, likely for months. No murder weapon has been recovered, and police still don't know the motive. And so far, Kaylee Gonsalves' family says they haven't found a connection between her and Bryan Kohberger. Over the weekend, Kaylee Gonsalves' sister spoke to News Nation.
I think we're still going to keep looking. I've had a lot of people reach out with Instagram posts or even a Spotify or lots of connections that they've been able to find. And those are super valuable. All of those go over to, the Moscow Police Department, as well as the Idaho State Police and the FBI, because nothing is insignificant at this point, and everything is being looked through.
This case has captured the attention of so many people around the world, and the release of the probable cause affidavit included evidence that police say they have that places Kohberger at the scene of the crimes. That includes cell phone data police say places Kohberger in the area on at least 12 occasions, surveillance footage of a white Hyundai Elantra circling the area and pulling up to the home the night of the murders, and Kohberger's DNA on a knife sheath that was found laying next to victim Maddie Mogen. I spoke with the attorney for the Gonsalves family about that affidavit and what they think about it.
Well, I think it was a lot more information than anybody expected. I've read probable cause affidavits in the past, just through as a prosecutor and a criminal defense attorney, and this was pretty extensive. It kind of lays out the prosecution's case. I'm sure there will be additional evidence that they haven't released in the probable cause affidavit, but gives you a good guideline for how they determined that it was the defendant in this case.
Another startling fact in that affidavit, a surviving roommate told police that she actually heard crying coming from Xana Kernodle's bedroom the night of the murders. And she also said she heard a man saying, "It's okay, I'm going to help you." Then she said she saw a man walking toward her and exiting the home through a sliding glass door.
Well, I think we all have to remember that she is a victim in this case. I don't know if anybody can, everyone's there to second guess what happened and how she should have or could have reacted. She states I think in the affidavit that she froze in that moment and then went back in her room and ultimately the 911 call wasn't made until later, 8 hours later, I believe, or something along those lines. But who knows? I mean, maybe she saw him and maybe she thought he was going out for a smoke out on the deck and coming back in. Who knows what was going through her mind? But I don't think anybody should be putting any blame or anything on her about anything. And the family feels the same way. She's going through a traumatic incident where she had 4 roommates that were murdered. She was able.
You're going to think this is back on January 9th of 2023. I think our opinions about her have changed so far.
To garner some information that helped out the affidavit.
All right, let me recognize this membership. Victorine is a 1-month member. Thank you so much. She says it was a fun night and smash that like button. Unfortunately, when you're, I don't know why it doesn't allow me to bring these up, but I did read it. Thank you so much. 1-month membership. Thank you.
The identification of the black clothes, of the black mask over his nose, the bushy eyebrows, approximate height, approximate build.
I personally think there's going to be a lot of telling information in that 911 call. We have a new monthly member. I hope I'm saying this. Nijimak has become a new YouTube member of the community. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And we have a $4 super chat from Glenda. Thank you so much. We appreciate you giving that super chat out. And let's do the acknowledgement there as well.
Great cash, homie. I got you, homie.
All right. Thank you so much for that super sticker. All right, let's keep playing through this.
To the investigation.
Now, this is one of the higher profile criminal cases that we've seen in many, many years. When I think of high profile cases that have gone to trial where literally the world was watching and a defendant was charged with a crime, I think of people like Casey Anthony, Scott Peterson, and O.J. Simpson. O.J. Simpson, of course, was acquitted of murdering his wife, Nicole, and her friend Ron Goldman back in the 90s. Alan Dershowitz is a professor emeritus of law at Harvard University Law School, and he was part of O.J. Simpson's defense team. Let's take a look back.
That the prosecution, in one respect, has a no-lose scenario that they may be attempting, namely that they're trying to reshape the jury.
The case that spawned Court TV.
To its advantage by striking jurors selectively. And they know that the worst case scenario is that they will.
Jules says, I love your content. So helpful to going back to piece things together with what we know. Absolutely. It's always good to go back and look back. And like I said, this gives us a refresh. It gives us maybe a new look at some things that could be considered, maybe things that we didn't see or hear. So Jules, thank you so much. Your name looks new in the chat, and I do appreciate you hanging out with us this evening. Thank you so much.
Will be a mistrial. And if there's a mistrial, they get to try the case a second time.
Joining me to discuss defending a high-profile client is someone who knows all too much about that. He is Professor Alan Dershowitz. He was part of O.J. Simpson's dream team back in the 90s. Professor Dershowitz, welcome back to Sidebar. Thanks for coming on.
Well, thanks for having me.
You've read the probable cause affidavit, and we know that this is all about probable cause, obviously. This is not beyond a reasonable doubt. That's not what they were trying to do with this document. So where would you see places where you could defend Bryan Kohberger just based on what we know right now?
Every case is different and every defense is different. I am always opposed to lawyers who say, I always do it this way. I always put the client on the stand. I never put the client on the stand. Every case has to be considered differently and on the merits. Also, you have to consider the atmosphere. The O.J. Simpson case was unique because of the racial tensions that were involved, police misconduct. Remember, too, the affidavit only presents one side of the story. It's only the prosecution's version. You have to begin to develop your own evidence And I'm going to surprise people when I say that a good criminal defense lawyer always starts with a presumption of guilt, not a presumption of innocence. You always assume your client is guilty, and then you work back from there. If you assume your client is innocent, you'll make mistakes. You'll allow searches. You'll allow him to speak to the police. So you always start with a presumption of guilt and then try to develop evidence that questions or challenges. And you always keep in mind the possibility of a plea bargain. This is difficult in a case like this where there were so many deaths and so brutal, so that the lawyers, whoever they are, really have their work cut out for them.
It appears that way. And obviously things have changed a lot since you represented O.J. Simpson and were part of that team back in the 90s. We have all of this cell phone evidence, things like that, computer stuff. They're going to do a deep dive on his computer to see what's going on in there, to see if it is indeed true that he is the guilty party and was the person possibly stalking these young women. Talk to me about what you see in that probable cause affidavit that could cause you or that could prompt you to think, oh, I might be able to pull on that thread. There may be something there.
It's very difficult because the probable cause application really shows a variety of approaches that close in on this one defendant. Obviously, cell phone records, the car, history of proximity to the events. And when you have multiple approaches, even if they're all circumstantial evidence, if it's solid enough and if it closes the loops, can really be very powerful. What you're looking for is an alternative. You're looking to try to explain away the physical, undisputable evidence in a way that presents the possibility of innocence, or at least reasonable doubt. That's not always possible, but that has to be the approach you take. You look at every single element of the circumstantial case and see if there is an argument consistent with lack of guilt that those circumstances can lead you to. Again, sometimes very, very difficult. It was very difficult in the O.J. Simpson case because there you had blood evidence, you had location evidence, you had wounds, you had a range of factors, all of which pointed in one direction. But we were very lucky because the police messed up terribly in the O.J. Simpson case. They likely planted some evidence hoping to convict somebody they believe was guilty. Here, the police seem to have done a very credible job. And of course, we don't know what investigation by the defense will show up, but often putting the police on trial, putting the prosecution on trial, and deflecting attention away from the defendant toward other people can be an approach that's worth pursuing as well.
One of the big pieces of evidence mentioned in the probable cause affidavit is the fact that they say that the suspect's DNA was found on the snap of the knife sheath that was left next to one of the victims, Madison Mogan, on her bed. How do you challenge that? I know Barry Scheck was really the DNA guy on your team. We don't know what the lab results are that show that it was his DNA. So there's probably a lot that we don't know about that process and what happened in the lab.
It seems like very damning evidence if it's true, but I've seen cases where damning evidence dissolves upon analysis. I won a case some years ago that seemed like it was open and shut, and we found out the lab had made mistake after mistake after mistake, and our client was acquitted. So you have to challenge every single aspect of the case, and you're not going to win any popularity contests if you're a defense attorney here, because in the court of public opinion, this guy is guilty of horrible, horrible crimes. And in America, although we say everybody's entitled to a defense, the reality is if you defend certain people, you're going to be a pariah as a defense lawyer. And so beware of what this will do to your reputation, your friendships. It started with John Adams back in the killing of the people in the Boston Massacre. He was so incredibly unpopular for a period of time, but he led the way in the American tradition of every defendant, particularly those who are most unpopular, deserve a zealous defense. So this man should get a zealous defense. That doesn't guarantee an acquittal or even a hung jury. All he's entitled to is a zealous defense, not a verdict.
There's cell phone evidence in this case, and some of the cell phone evidence shows that.
Yeah, we're going to finish this up in about the next 15 minutes. We're almost done. I'm getting tired myself too. I got 2 very, very long work days ahead of me. So
according to the affidavit and according to the police, that this guy was in the area of that home on at least 12 occasions prior to the night of the murders between August of 2022 and November. Also showing that he turned off his phone for a period of time, both before the homicides, during, and sometime after. It comes off like about 28 minutes. It turns back on about 28 minutes after they say he left the scene. What do you make?
Oh, real quick, because I'm just going to show this really quick. If you weren't here in the beginning of the stream, I got a K-bar, and I just want to show it to everybody really quick. If they haven't seen one, particularly in person, this is what a K-bar knife looks like. And this would be the suspected sheath as well. And that's the snap where that DNA would have been found on the snap. But I just wanted to show this again before I put it away, because we've just seen a lot of just, flat photos of it. And I wanted a 3-dimensional object. This is a K-bar. It's a huge knife. It's a very strong weapon. And it will do a lot of damage. So I'm going to put it away. I'm going to be very careful so I don't hurt myself here, because it is extremely sharp, like razor sharp. Okay, let me finish this up and we'll close the stream down.
How do you challenge that, or how do you explain the phone going off during that period of time?
We have to ask him, first of all. He is the most important witness. He may have a reason why the phone would have been turned off. He may acknowledge that he was in the area, that he frequently went to the area. After all, he lived not too far away. In the end, it may be that he had a relationship. We have no real evidence of this with any of the alleged victims or their friends. So what you're looking for is possible.
If you didn't see it, you can go back and watch the replay after. I show it in a lot of detail in the beginning of the video. Of the live stream, so you can go back and watch.
Explanations, or at least explanations that create a reasonable doubt, but it's not always there. Just because you want it and just because you're looking for it doesn't mean you can have it. I've had many cases where in the end you have to sit down and have
no, listen, the way that I look at it is it's nothing more than any movie that we've ever seen. So I don't know why. I mean, yes, it's I'm saying it's startling to have it in my hand and feel the weight of it and all that. But I mean, we've seen worse things in movies. We're all true crimers. I'm sure we've watched all those movies. One that comes to particular mind, Jeff Bridges, Jagged Edge. If you haven't seen that 80s movie, great movie. It's strange. It's very similar to this case.
Talk with your client and say, this is not a defensible case. This is a case that requires a plea bargain. And let me
and that's why I did it.
Negotiate
OCD.
something
That's why
less than the death penalty.
I wanted to give some perspective because we've just seen photos. We need to see a 3-dimensional object. And I wanted to see one. I wanted to see what it looked like. And crazy enough, I ordered it off Amazon. And it's crazy that you can get something like that through Amazon. And we know the relationship of Amazon in this case.
Life imprisonment, and a lawyer therefore plays a lot of roles, not only defending in court but negotiating as well.
It is not
and one
serrated.
thing I do find interesting is
straight
the
edge,
fact that when
flat
we were
blade.
in Moscow, we saw that there's a 24-hour grocery store in that immediate area. It's actually right on the corner where he was pulled over back in August when they saw him in that general area. And there's a Walmart there in that area. And there's also a 24-hour grocery store. So I kind of wondered if they would go that route. Also, the fact that we heard from a neighbor who said he was a night owl and he was up in the middle of the night vacuuming and things like that.
Look, we live in a different world today from the O.J. Simpson world in Great Britain, particularly, but in parts of the United States as well. Everything is recorded. There are cameras all over the place. And that's an argument that can cut both ways, because sometimes the cameras will show a person in an innocent context, as you say, around a Walmart or something else. In other situations, it only points to guilt. So it's a knife that cuts both ways, the pervasiveness of cameras. In a case of guilt, generally, it will help the prosecution, but it's something that has to be explored. Look, we're right at the beginning of this. The prosecution has had its say. The defense has probably hardly begun its own investigation, and it has to look at all the evidence, and jurors, and judges, and even members of the public
of course
have to come to this with an open mind. The people should have a presumption of innocence. As I say, the lawyer has to start with a presumption of guilt, particularly in a case of this kind.
And you had mentioned the video evidence. That was going to be my next.
Compared to 80s and 90s movies, don't even fight me on that, bro.
Next point. We have surveillance footage, according to the affidavit in this case, that they say shows this vehicle entering the general area. They had put out a call for Hyundai Elantras between 2011 and 2013. That was back on December 7th. They put out the call for that. But according to the affidavit, this guy was on their radar on November 29th. So that was a week or so before that. How do you challenge that video evidence? They later said, an FBI an analyst said that Hyundai Elantra could have been 2011 to 2016. So they kind of, moved their window there.
What's very surprising to me is that the defendant in this case is a criminal justice major. He understands everything we're talking about, and he understood that the car that fit the description of his car was in the area. And it's surprising that he didn't take, if he's guilty, take the kinds of precautions you'd expect of somebody as intelligent and as educated as he is. But let's remember the Leopold and Loeb case back in the beginning of the 20th century. Two brilliant people, really brilliant people, particularly Leopold, who eventually went to prison and did medical things. Brilliant. They wanted to commit the perfect crime as criminology majors as well. And they committed the perfect blunder. They left the glasses behind. They left evidence behind. So there's no accounting for the stupidity of people when it comes to committing crimes. They all think they're smarter than the officials. And in the end, in general, the evidence prevails. And the evidence in this case does point, according to at least the affidavit, to probable guilt. And therefore, the job of the defense attorney is going to be very daunting, very daunting. And there are too many things that have to be explained here, but let's wait to see what they come up with before we rush to judgment.
Sure, of course. And we have this document, a 19-page document. The attorneys don't have the evidence yet, and not that we know of, at least. And I would assume that the discovery in this case will be voluminous, just because we had 19,000 or so tips. We've got video that was submitted, hours and hours of surveillance video. Combing through all of that is going to be daunting. I would assume they would need investigators and paralegals to be assisting with that process.
Yes, I would hope that the state would provide it if the defendant can't afford it. It's interesting that there's more discovery in civil cases in most jurisdictions than there is in criminal cases. In some jurisdictions, and I don't know the local law there, the defendant doesn't get access to everything, gets access to anything that's exculpatory, obviously, but not necessarily evidence that's inculpatory. So we'll wait to see what discovery is afforded. I'm always in favor of open book discovery. Both sides should present what they're going to present at trial as early as possible so that adequate investigation can be conducted.
And the fact that he went back to the scene, they claim, that morning, later on, around sometime after 9 a.m., they believe the homicides were committed between 4 and 4:20 a.m. How do you defend that, do you think?
Well, again, the argument they'll make is it's a two-edged sword, that a person who's actually committed these brutal murders wouldn't go back to the scene of the crime, particularly if he's a criminal justice major. But again, there's no accounting for the stupidity of people when it comes to committing crimes. And so it may not be able to be explained. And not every piece of evidence has an innocent explanation, and that's what remains to be seen. But at the moment, all we have is the prosecution's version. We have material that's in the affidavit that probably is inadmissible hearsay evidence and other kinds of evidence. And so we'll have to see what happens at the trial itself, what admissible evidence there is, what explanations there are. Will the defendant take the witness stand or won't he? Will there be corroborating witnesses? We're a long way away from being able to evaluate the likely outcome, although based on the affidavit, the likely outcome does at this point in time point to probable guilt.
And the surviving roommate, DM, she says she saw a man with bushy eyebrows walk toward her and past her and go out the sliding glass door. Her identification could be very powerful.
Well, identification testimony is usually the least influential. Many of the cases that we've seen reversed on appeal or based on new trial evidence are based on false identification. And so identification evidence is good if it's corroborated or if it corroborates other information. But standing alone, eyewitness testimony during a tense period of time, as general as this is, would not be the strongest evidence. The strongest evidence would be the combination of circumstances, the elements that come together and point in one direction. And then the eyewitness identification really helps corroborate that and put the last nail in the coffin.
Mm-hmm. Well, Professor Alan Dershowitz, thank you so much for coming on to discuss this.
All right. Okay. We have done another, I got to get these off, 3 hour banger. 3 hour banger. Holy schmolies. That was a long one. What do you guys think? That was a long one. All right. Before everybody runs out of the room, don't go anywhere yet. Let me drop the link for part 6. Like I said, I think the next 48 hours I'm going to be unavailable. I have a very, very long work days, the next 48 hours. That's the link to part 6. Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If I'm feeling up to it on Tuesday, I may do part 6 on Tuesday. So just look for the update. If you are a channel member, make sure to go over to the homepage and click the community tab. I just updated for the Discord group. So if you want to get into our chat group, it's for channel members only. It'll get you into the group and it's at all levels. If you want to join right now, a channel membership, you can click that join button down below. My membership's up at $1.99. If not, maybe next time. Maybe I'll gift out a few for some freebies. I see everybody in the chat saying great show, good night. I love all you guys. The community is building. This channel is building. I love the fact that the last couple of nights have been a lot of eyes on this channel. So hopefully I brought good content to you all tonight. If this is your first time over here, please make sure to subscribe, click that bell notification, and go back and watch some of the other videos because we have great lives and great content on those videos, and I would hate to see you missing out. Again, Thursday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I promise Sleuthie and I will get something together soon. I'm going to reach out to her after my long work days, and we'll get something together. So stay tuned for that. She did say she'll come over and hang out, and we'll get a show set up, and I think that's going to be really fun. You all be safe, be well. If any news comes up, you see anything, you can always communicate me with through email, theopinionatedidiot@gmail.com. Also, I'm on Facebook. You can follow me on Twitter as well. All my links are in my channel descriptions if you need to find me, and I communicate a lot through the community tab on my homepage. I'm going to blow this candle out, and I'm going to set out and shut this stream down for tonight. You guys are amazing. You're the best fucking community of all time. And we're going to make this crazy. We're going to make this really, really crazy. And we're going to build this community and keep all this news fresh. So you all have a great night. Thank you for all the super chats, all the new memberships, all the new people that came in and chatted tonight. I appreciate all of you, and I will see you guys all soon. Take care. Let me hit the outro. Love you all. Get some rest. See you back here Thursday. Peace.